June 20th meeting of the Slow Meadow Planning Board, and the first thing I need to announce is that under the open meeting law, we are recording this meeting for the minutes by a tape recorder, and also LCAT is recording the meeting. I have to ask if anyone else here is recording the meeting. Hearing none, we'll proceed. Our first order of business is a public hearing on a special permit and site plan review of the East Long Meadow Skilled Nursing Center on Maple Street. Guide?
The Planning Board of the Town of East Long Meadow will hold a public hearing on June 20th, 2017 at 6 o'clock in the School Committee Conference Room at the high school, 180 Maple Street, on application for a special permit and site plan review submitted by Fairview Extended Care Services, Inc. The proposed work is for the construction of an 84,605 square foot new skilled nursing facility and renovation of the existing facility. Information related to this application is on file with the Planning Board and available for review by the public.
So I'd ask that anyone...
Well, that was...
That was legal.
Oh, excuse me. I said corrected.
Yeah.
Here is a letter from Jeffrey DeSalso. Delesio, excuse me. Thank you. Probably because I forgot to send them to you, no concern. Spoke with Bob, a parent, about future traffic design of the intersections. I think the only question I had was Maple Street westbound approaching Converse should open up to 2 lanes so that traffic waiting for traffic signals doesn't back up past entrance, exit, driveway to facility on Maple Street, which I believe they have plans to address.
That's it.
That's the police report.
Police report. Fire inspector. Robin, the fire department has reviewed the site plan and design plans for the medical complex at the corner of Dwight Road and Chestnut Street. The hydrants shall be located shown on the plans. Access to the existing nursing home facility must remain open from both Maple Street and Dwight Road during all phases of construction and after construction. All buildings must be built to applicable building and fire safety codes. Knockbox specific locations will be determined by the fire inspector prior to installation. Please contact me if you have any additional concerns relating to fire safety issues. From DPW, Robert Parent. The stormwater management facility for the proposed skilled nursing and assisted living facility is depicted on plans, and there's a list of all the plans that were submitted, prepared by our Levesque Associates, Inc., dated April 19, 2017, and the associated stormwater drainage report, also dated April 19, 2017, both received by this office on June 1st, 2017, are approved subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the approval does not supersede or replace the need for the applicant to obtain approval from the project from the East Long Meadow Planning Board, and is conditioned on receipt of all necessary approvals from the Planning Board and other town agencies. Number 2, the effective date of this permit shall coincide with the date of the Planning Board approval. A permit, when issued, will remain valid for 3 years. If the project is not completed within this time period, an extension or renewal will be required. Number 3, all changes to the project design that result from the Planning Board review and approval process that would impact the generation, flow, detention, or treatment of the stormwater shall be submitted to the DPW for review and determination of whether or not an amended application is required. Number 4, the long-term stormwater maintenance program contained in Appendix G of the submittal shall be updated and reformatted as needed to comply with Section 5.3 of the DPW's rules and regulations so that the program can serve as an agreement suitable for execution and filing with the land records at the Registry of Deeds prior to issuance of a building permit. Please submit the updated document for review and approval by the DPW prior to filing. Number 5, a performance guarantee in the form of a cash bond shall be provided prior to issuance of a building permit to ensure completion of the stormwater management facilities in accordance with the approved plans and permit conditions. The value of this bond shall be equal to the total estimate construction cost of the stormwater management facilities. Number 6, 48 hours advance notice shall be provided to the DPW prior to any of the facility inspections required by the DPW rules and regulations. The town may assess the applicant the cost of these inspections. Number 7, additional test pits during construction are referenced in the stormwater drainage report. Copies of any additional test pit information shall be provided to the DPW within 30 days of completion, along with an engineering evaluation of the impact of the additional information on the project design. Number 8, all work shall comply with the rules and regulations of the management stormwater adopted by the Town of East Long Meadow Department of Public Works on January 23rd, 2012. And this must be, another, okay. And we have another letter dated June 20th, 2017 from Robert Parent, DPW, regarding proposed Maple Street skilled nursing and assisted living facility. The Department of Public Works has reviewed the latest set of plans, last revised June 16th, 2017, for the proposed skilled nursing assisted living facility as depicted on the plans. And there's a list of all the plans that were reviewed. The Stormwater Drainage Report dated April 19th, 2017, are prepared by Levesque Associates, Inc., and shall have the following comments. Number 1, compliance with the DPW stormwater permit, which is attached, issued on June 14th, 2017, should be made a condition of approval. The plans revised June 16th, 2017, do not contain significant changes in the project stormwater design from the previous version referenced in the stormwater permit approval. So resubmission of the DPW is not required unless significant changes are made to these plans in the future. Number 2, the project applicant, Fairview Extended Care Services, Inc., previously committed to a $50,000 contribution to assist with future improvements to Westwood Ave and Maple Street intersection as mitigation for the project impacts. Receipt of this contribution should be made a condition of approvals. Number 3, installation of a traffic signal indicating no through traffic, end of quote, or the equivalent shall be considered on the project roadway, and service vehicles only should be considered on the service road to the south of the new skilled nursing facility. In addition, do not enter signs should be considered on the west end of the service road. Number 4, at the roundtable meeting held with town department heads, the applicant indicated a willingness to incorporate future interior traffic control measures such as additional raised pedestrian crossings, additional signage, and etc. if traffic cutting through the project became a problem. This should be a condition of the approval. Number 5, the designated snow storage area appeared to be insufficient. Regular off-site hauling of snow within 72 hours of a snow event should be required as needed to avoid encroachment on parking and circulation areas. Number 6, the DPW anticipates contracting for the installation of a new water main on Maple Street in advance of the applicant completing its tie-ins to the new main. The DPW's project will include installing the connections shown on the applicant's plan up to the property line, with the cost of constructing connections to be borne by the applicant. Number 7, once the temporary office building is no longer in use, the temporary water and sewer services to the building are to be excavated and capped, plugged, at the main manhole as required by the DPW. Number 8, prior to the DPW approving the new water connection to the project, the applicant and the developer of the adjoining medical facility in Long Meadow will need to reach an agreement about the manner that water usage of the projects will be billed, and provided a copy of this agreement to the DPW. Looping of the fire protection line between the project is beneficial for reliability purposes, but will require a single entity to be responsible for payment of the combined water usage of the two projects. Combination domestic/fire service meters and below-grade meter vaults will be required at the connection point to each project. Number 9, estimated water and sewer usage data based on Title V or similar criteria is required to confirm the availability as well as connection fees. Fees will be based on a residential dwelling equivalency with all allowances made for usage by the existing skilled nursing facility for which no connection fee will be assessed. Number 10, the surface material for the parking area at the temporary office building should be identified. Number 11, test pit number 15 at the location of the infiltration basin at the southwest corner of the site indicates potential fill at depths of 14-inch to 83-inch. All fill encountered adjacent to or below the infiltration basin is to be removed and replaced with clean sand and gravel or sand complying with Title V specifications. Number 12, an easement or access agreement will be required from the property owner for the sidewalk that will encroach on the development property along Maple Street. Number 13, the sewer services to the existing medical office building to be demolished is to be excavated and abandoned at the main. The existing water connections will be abandoned by the DPW when the new main is put in service. Number 14, we request that the applicant provide granite curbing at the entrance to Maple Street driveway to be consistent with the likely design and construction by others of the widening of Maple Street in addition of the sidewalk along the south edge of the property. And that completes.
Very good. At this point, I'd ask the proponent to come forward and tell us what they're planning on doing.
Thank you. What I'll do before I put this up, I'm going to introduce our team. Good evening. For the record, I'm Rob Levesque from our Levesque Associates. Here this evening representing Fairview Extended Care. With me this evening is Vicki Donahue. She's the attorney from Kane, Hibbert & Meyer, representing the facility. Lisa Gaudette is also here with us. She's the vice president of
Business Development.
Thank you. We have Matt Nelson. He's with Dunlap Associates. They're the architects for the proposed facility, and also Lewis from their office as well. And Steve Severia from Fuss & O'Neill has been working on the traffic impact on the corridor. I believe we've all met a few times, the new members of the planning board. Welcome. We have had a couple informal meetings with the planning board in both East Long Meadow and Long Meadow. So we've had some joint meetings that have been very productive. What I'll do, if it pleases the board, is I'll make a presentation of the overall project briefly, just so you understand how everything dovetails together, and then I'll get into the specifics of the East Long Meadow side.
If I could just ask, is there anyone here for this this hearing who is not associated with the proponent? Okay, because I want to make sure that people who are not familiar with the project can see what we're seeing. So it may be, if someone would want to move around so that they could view the boards, you're welcome to do that. It's impossible to see this from the back of the room. So. You pull up a chair over here if you want.
Can I just sit on the table?
Sure.
It's pretty steady.
Okay.
I'll hold it up if you're sad.
Now no one can see it, right?
Now we can't see it.
Yeah, I know. All right, so I'm gonna do my best. And is there a better, I guess with the camera, I gotta get you. Just tell me when you can see it.
Ty, can you see it? You want to-
No, I really can't, but I can move around a little bit.
Okay.
Should we do a little slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You see it, okay, thank you. So, this is a site plan of this is the overall site plan. There's two projects going on in concert with one another. There's the Long Meadow side, which has already been approved. This is a medical office building. It's about a 54,000 square foot medical office building that'll be 2 stories. There's also an administrative office building that'll be 24,000 square feet, also 2 stories. This is Dwight Road here. This is Maple. What you're seeing on our plan, the line work that you see is our proposed improvements that Mr. Severi has been working on. Early on in the process, we met with the 2 planning boards. We discussed the potential issues on the site, and we early on identified that the traffic was going to be a concern. So we dug into it right away. Steve came up with an approach, working with both towns, and Mike Crowley and a gentleman by the name of Jeff Daly have worked with the 2 municipalities with something called a DIF. So it's a district improvement financing. It was put in place to help pay for the improvements to the corridor, because everybody knows that there's some traffic concerns that exist there. On my way over, I noticed it again. So that said, what we have are, there's a solution to the intersections, you know, at the corner of Commerce and Dwight, and also at Benton Drive, Williams, Dwight, and Maple. So Steve can get into the detail of that, but essentially we've come up with a solution that everybody, and I believe including your DPW director, is comfortable with, both the DPW director in Long Meadow and East Long Meadow. That said, the Long Meadow side, the Long Meadow line is right here, okay? So that's the town boundary. This is all the Long Meadow side here. The East Long Meadow side is going to be retained by the current facility operator. And what they're going to do is they're going to construct a new building here. This new building is a 131-bed skilled nursing facility. Okay, this is proposed. This is on the subject property that they currently own, which they own all of this property. And there's a small parcel that's owned by Dr. Felipe. If you're familiar with the podiatrist's office there, there's a parcel right here, and his office exists here. So that's been incorporated into the project. This skilled nursing facility will be constructed completely new. There is a 28-bed memory care assisted living facility that will be renovated from the existing structure that exists there now. So if everybody's familiar with or have been to that facility, there's an existing drive that comes in here. We're going to pretty much be consistent with the existing drive on this side. On this end, the driveway's about here now. Okay, it's going to be shifted to the north, and there'll be a loop road that comes through to the 2 properties. These 2 properties will work independently, but also work in concert with each other. There was comments from your DPW director, and we've talked with the DPW directors in both towns, and Steve and I have worked hard to make sure that we don't have a through traffic situation. So we have some traffic tables that have been included in the design to slow people down. The improvements to the intersections will obviously allow folks to flow through a lot better than they do now. But we have taken that into consideration in our design. So I wanted to give you the overview. This is the overall. That brings us to today's meeting. And by the way, again, we have received approval from both the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board, unanimous approval from Long Meadow. They did have one condition of approval that the DIF be passed, and it was. And at town meeting, we received almost, I would say 95% of the vote in favor of that district improvement financing. So this is the site itself. This is kind of a hybrid plan for presentation purposes. So what you have here is the layout plan with the landscaping plan over the top, just so you can get a feel for how the site operates. So again, if you're looking at this plan, this is obviously the East Long Meadow portion of the property here. And we have a parking area here associated with the main entrance to the building. So this is the front entrance to the building. We wanted the 2 buildings to have their entrances kind of across from each other, so we do have that kind of a spine going down the middle, a pedestrian connection between the two. We also have a pedestrian connection pretty much throughout the two properties. We have sidewalks being constructed on Maple Street as part of the Complete Streets component of the Maple Street corridor improvement project. We also have sidewalks interior to the property, pretty much leading to all of the different buildings, including the buildings on the Long Meadow side. So our main parking field is here with our main pedestrian access point here. We have an ambulance entrance at this location here. The loop road comes around. All of our service vehicles will be coming in off of this access road here. And this is a loading dock that would kind of be the back end facility here that's being entered from this location. We're reconfiguring the parking that exists for the existing skilled nursing the existing skilled nursing facility, and when that's renovated to be the new memory care unit, we'll be reconfiguring the parking in this area. The parking and the existing impervious surfaces in the back will not be increased or changed in general. There's a little bit of striping that will be done and a little bit of milling and resurfacing, but everything else is pretty much staying the same here. But this loop road is being reconfigured. The parking area here is all new. The logistics of how this all happens is kind of interesting. So with the existing facility here, what we have to do is construct the new facility. So this new 131 bed facility will be constructed. The residents from this facility will be brought over, and then this can be renovated. And this renovation, as you see, includes, it's probably a little bit hard to see on my plan, but there's about to where my pen is here, is where the existing wings of the facility extend to now, as it exists. So we're going to be truncating those wings, bringing them back, and then that will allow this portion of the access road to be constructed. So as we kind of look at the overall again, what will happen is the Long Meadow side will be pursued first. First order of business is to relocate the existing access drive to the north, making way for the 54,000 square foot building. The second building on the Long Meadow side will probably be in the near future, but is not going to happen right away. So once this access road is constructed, I think there was a comment from your DPW director and the fire department that they want to make sure that we keep access to the existing facility, obviously. There's two access points now. We'll maintain this access point here, and then this will be maintained throughout construction. So those two locations will be accessible. The trick is, initially, this portion here will not be constructed because there's the wing of the facility that exists. So the good news is, the first portion of the project, there won't be any chance of through traffic on the first, while it's being constructed, because this portion will not be constructed. So once this building is constructed, this will be probably, with any luck, as early as the fall that they'd like to start. That's probably optimistic, but we'd like to think that that's realistic. So this facility could potentially start in the fall. This we would like to start a little bit earlier than that, but we'll see how that all plays out. Once this is constructed, probably about 2 years later, most likely, we'll transfer folks over, and then this portion would be truncated, and then that portion of the road would be constructed. Right. So we have a full set of site documents, layout plans, grading plans. I can go through each sheet in detail. It has been reviewed by the DPW and Engineering Department. We have, from the Conservation Commission, we've been issued a negative determination, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And so we basically have a clean bill of health from Conservation. As far as the stormwater, it's been reviewed, as you've heard, by your DPW Director and Engineering Department. And we've received approval with conditions. We've reviewed the conditions, and they all are logical and make sense. It's all either items that we've discussed through the process with the planning board or at team meetings. I don't think there's anything that I heard that was a surprise. There was a comment about snow storage, a snow storage area. It's a logical comment. We do feel that we have ample snow storage on site. We don't disagree with the comment. I think it's a safeguard that we can put in place. I believe the comment from the DPW was that it'd be 72 hours, which makes sense. If we do need to truck snow off-site, we would. But rather than me, I'm not a plow contractor, so rather than me come up with a plan that probably won't work exactly how they're gonna do it, I think it just makes sense to make it a condition. So why don't I stop for a second, see if there's any questions on what I've discussed so far, and if you would like, I can get into the details of the drainage system and everything else.
So take it to the board. Lou, do you have any questions at this point?
No, I'm just concerned about the traffic on the Maple Street side, you know, because is that gonna be two-way traffic? Like they can come in and come out?
What it might make
Because there's a
sense,
lot-
while I'm talking about the overview and without getting into the details of the drainage system, why don't I have Steve give an overview of the corridor improvement project? Does that make sense? Might
It's traffic
answer a lot of those
engineer.
questions.
That could be good.
Great.
So, my firm, Fuss & O'Neill of West Springfield, was retained by the developers of the project to prepare a traffic impact report in accordance with the requirements of the site plan review and special permit process in the zoning bylaw. And right from the very early stages of our involvement, it was recognized that we had a situation or an existing condition surrounding the site where there was already congestion. And so really to develop a kind of an unconstrained transportation infrastructure surrounding the site, we were thinking right from day one that we were going to have to make some off-site traffic mitigation improvements. And so there was kind of a pretty phenomenal level of collaboration and cooperation between the towns of East Long Meadow and Long Meadow. Number one, to develop the scope of our actual study and the work that we did in analyzing the conditions, but also in kind of the nature and extent of improvements that we were going to consider as part of this design. And so it developed as kind of a public-private partnership to provide a mechanism by which the transportation, off-site transportation infrastructure could be enhanced, which would allow the highest and best use of the private development. And I think to address your comment right away, in terms of access to the site, we really have and one of the early comments was, well, how do we develop like the geographic distribution of additional traffic to be generated by the site, by employees, by the patients that are visiting the medical office facility, by the professional staff, by deliveries, all those different things. And so we developed a mechanism by which we actually looked at, kind of zip code information about where the potential tenants of these projects were going to generate both their patients and their staff, and we use that to develop the geographic distribution of the new trips to be generated by the site. And there's really kind of 6 different approaches to the site. There's Dwight Road to the north towards Springfield. There's Converse Street into Long Meadow. There's Williams into Long Meadow. There's Benton Drive down into East Long Meadow, the industrial park, and then further south and in Connecticut. And then there's Maple Street that's through the center of town and to points east, and also Westwood Drive, which is kind of the bypass of downtown. So we've kind of taken all the total trip generation of the site and divided it up amongst all those different arrival and departure routes. And so, yes, this Maple Street access will be 2-way. It will be full access. It will have left and right turns going in and out of the side driveway. And we've analyzed the capacity of that intersection and shown it to be, operating at a satisfactory level. As far as the specifics of the mitigation plan, the plan right now, and this is a conceptual plan, we're just starting the development of the actual construction plans for this to be implemented, with the cooperation of DPWs in both towns, which they will be involved in the development of the design and also the review of it. And the eventual construction is most likely going to be the overall management of that project is probably going to take place within the town of Long Meadow, just because the majority of the improvements are within the town of Long Meadow. So what the improvements consist of is widening of Dwight Road to provide a 5-lane cross-section between Maple Street and Converse Street. Signalization of the Converse Street intersection, including the site driveway that comes out at that location. Improvements to the Maple, Williams, and Benton and Dwight Road intersection, and we heard a comment about the Maple Street approach. And right now there is a left turn lane there. It's very short. It doesn't have the capacity for queuing of vehicles that are waiting there. And so that contributes to congestion on Maple Street and a long queue of vehicles that are essentially blocked from traveling through the intersection by the left turn vehicles waiting because there's inadequate storage there. So the plan is to widen that Maple Street approach to the intersection, to take the existing kind of right turning road that's there at the corner and push that farther into the site. And so that gives us more room to open up this approach at the intersection. And so that will allow us to lengthen that left turn lane so we have adequate capacity for queue storage, and so that the through traffic will be able to bypass. The improvements are also going to extend up Maple Street across the entire site frontage. That widening is going to be carried back a few hundred feet from the intersection, so that this full 2-lane cross-section is going to be much longer than it is now. In addition, because of the Complete Streets ordinance in the town of Long Meadow, our 5-lane cross-section here on Dwight Road also includes bicycle lanes on both sides of the road and sidewalks on both sides of the road. And that sidewalk on the east side across the site frontage is going to continue around the corner onto Maple Street and all the way down the site frontage to the easterly site driveway. The DPW director also requested that we look at the intersection of Benton Drive and Chestnut Street, and we are proposing not so much physical improvements there, but signalization improvements, which will include a coordination plan so that we can optimize through traffic progression up and down Dwight Road through all 3 of the signalized intersections. And that will cut down on the amount of queuing we have in between, it'll cut down on the number of stops, and it'll cut down on the amount of idling at the signalized intersections. So, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
So I'm not privy to the traffic report that was done. So
Okay.
You have a copy if you
Yeah,
want.
it has been submitted.
I'm just going to ask some general questions. So with the new additions that will be on the property, what's the difference in number of travel trips currently to what new travel trips are anticipated to be?
So as I said, we distribute them to all the different directions. And the result of that, and this is from a physical magnitude of the amount of land development that's taking place on this project, it is a significant, size of a construction project and development. But from a intensity of traffic operations for the size of it, because of the types of uses being proposed, in terms of peak period trip generation, which is the commuting peak trip generation, it's really, not that significant. So what we're seeing for all these different approaches is that the amount of traffic on all these different streets is not increasing, is only gonna increase by less than 10%. The largest, I believe, is on Maple Street, east of the site, and that's maybe 8 or 9% is what the increase will be in terms of afternoon commuting peak period traffic.
So in raw numbers, how many current employees work on that site? And what's the anticipated number of new employees and patients on that site?
I'd be happy to answer that for you. We're gonna be adding 12 new nursing home beds to the building, so we will have 12 new employees. We will retain the existing staff in the nursing facility, so you'll have 12 new residents and you'll have 12 new staff for the new nursing home. When the assisted living comes online, we anticipate about another 12 to maybe 15 employees. Residents in assisted living typically don't drive, so it would just be visitors that would be coming to see them. So we're talking about maybe 12 plus 12, about 24 new employees over a period of about 4 to 5 years.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Deb?
What is the timeframe of the traffic road improvement schedule? How long, once you're ripping up asphalt, how long till it's functional?
The actual construction period, it'll probably be substantially complete in one construction season. So beginning, for instance, in the spring of next year and extending into the fall of next year. Most likely, there will be some final construction elements that will take place in the following construction season. Maybe the final paving, the pavement marking, signage, those kinds of things, landscaping, those kinds of things.
Yeah, well, asphalt companies shut down at,
Yes.
come certain time.
Right, so that's typically the way an improvement project like this progresses, is it's mostly done in one construction season, but it overlaps into the next construction season.
And the overlapping into the following construction season, would that include the traffic lights themselves or just the asphalt area and sidewalk area?
The traffic lights themselves should be up and operating in that first construction season.
Yeah, because one of the main things that us and I'm sure Long Meadow and East Long Meadow would like is a left turn signal from Williams to Maple. So that's ideal. That's looking forward to the positive. So it could take as long as 2 construction seasons.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
And I understand that there will be a bond or a traffic improvement gift for future for Westwood and Maple,
50,000.
but we didn't see any need, well, not we, you didn't see any need for any kind of improvement at the intersection of Maple and Westwood?
Well,
Because that's very congested as it is now.
yes, I wouldn't say that we don't foresee the need for improvements there. It's just that as an unsignalized intersection, that doesn't really meet the volume warrants to justify the installation of a traffic signal at that location over the course of a day. I mean, there's obviously
Right.
a big slug of traffic that goes through there every night and every morning, and there's backups and there's long delays there.
It's a peak period, I understand, it's
Right.
not
Right.
across the
And-
daily.
And in that specific kind of situation, where you don't have 8 continuous hours of heavy traffic demand, you can't really justify the installation of signal control. So, there is an opportunity perhaps to look at widening improvements there, specifically to put a left turn lane in for
That's
the.
exactly where I was going
for
with
the,
this.
the
Yeah,
Maple
a
Street
left turn
eastbound
lane from
approach.
Maple to Westwood.
I saw a truck turning, a semi-trailer turning left there tonight, and that, it took them a long time to
Okay.
turn left, and everyone was just waiting.
I live off Westwood on the other end, so I, obviously come and have to take a left-hand turn, which is terrible off Westwood.
Right,
So
so
you choose not to go that way, I understand, but I could see a benefit to widening the road at that area of Maple Street, just to create a two-lane turning left onto Westwood
Right.
from
And,
Maple.
and you might also be able to widen Westwood to do the same thing, to have a separate
Great,
left and
yeah.
right turn lane. And that would provide the same benefit of allowing the right turners to bypass the left turners, because the left turners are gonna have more delay.
But just to be clear, there wasn't enough throughout traffic there to encompass that into this particular
We
traffic study?
didn't specifically look at trying to come up with conceptual plans for those kinds of improvements, but that's what the additional funds that have been committed to that, to that program are intended to finance. We haven't looked at how much, how wide the right-of-way is there, whether it would accommodate that amount of widening, whether there would have to be takings of private property in order
Right,
to
yes, that's
compensate.
Yeah.
another thing I was
Those are
thinking
all-
as well.
That was one of the things that we looked at, and we would have to engage in takings on both
And
sides in order
fines.
to widen it there. And the project itself, Westwood, the intersection of Westwood is way past the beginning of this project. And so it really was determined that it's not really fair, to have these people engage in recreating Westwood Avenue, and that's why they are giving us the,
With
the
what Mr.
donation,
Parent said,
so that we
$25.
can figure out, we, the town, can figure out exactly what we can do, because it doesn't warrant the traffic light. So, how it's
No, it
gonna
doesn't.
work, and whether the town really wants to get into takings or not is another issue. So-
Right, not
So
for
is
us.
that why we have the truncated sidewalk, essentially?
Yeah.
And so was any thought just of not having a sidewalk there?
Yes, however, it was required, right? DPW?
There was a request.
There was a request.
A request, yeah.
It does factor into the overall sidewalk plan that is on the books to be connected at some point in the future.
Down.
Tide, anything? Are you finished?
Yes.
Let me ask a question there when I look at the plan a little bit closer. You talked about trying to prevent people from going Converse Street and cutting through the project over to Maple. What are you gonna do to prevent that from happening?
So there's a couple different things. First of all, the improvements to the intersections we anticipate are gonna make it a heck of a lot easier to get through this corridor. But specifically, what we've done is we've added traffic tables. I don't know if you're familiar, it's not a speed bump, but it's a traffic calming measure. It's kind of an incline to a tabletop to another decline.
So instead of being a speed bump, it's gonna be up, you go a distance and back down
It
again.
won't wreck your Corvette, but it's gonna slow you down, is the idea. And again, people hate speed bumps, but it's something that will certainly slow you down through this. And again, people not living directly in the area are not gonna, they're not gonna be accessing through here. But the people that do live here, we wanna make sure that it's not easier to get through than running through this corridor.
How many of those things are you talking about putting in?
We have 3.
And
So
I
there's,
think-
at the
I think it would only be a
crosswalks,
problem
there's
from
3
Maple
pedestrian
To get
crosswalks.
towards Converse, because you're not gonna try
Okay,
to
so
take a
you
left-hand
come up
turn
here,
out of
you're
that.
gonna have,
Exactly, I was
so
just
what do you call
So
it
it's
again?
not-
Traffic
Out
tables.
here,
Okay, so a
left.
traffic
Right.
table here
And there
and
is
two
a
others.
traffic
one
light
right
at
here,
the.
And then
lower
another one
portion.
here. So at each point where you would,
Looks like
be able
one
to
meeting.
accelerate, you're kind of slowed down
And
again.
you think that's gonna work, right?
We do, and again, we talked to Mr. Parent about this, your DPW director, and we're happy to add improvements. We don't want to add too many at this point, but based on the condition that was suggested, that makes a lot of sense. If there is a problem, we're certainly willing to accept the condition that we would add more. Again, no through traffic signage, that was also suggested, that's all consistent.
So we
with what
could
we
leave
talked about.
that open for future review, right?
Yeah, if it becomes a problem, we're certainly willing to revisit it and add traffic calming measures in addition to what we've already provided.
And you're installing a traffic light here, signal here?
That's correct.
Full signaling, okay. Okay, now, if you're coming east on Converse, can you still make this left sweeping turn that people do now?
No, the redesign is going to,
That's a good question.
it is kind of strange the way that this.
I don't mean blocking everybody, but I just
No,
can't
it's
see
a
the
great
plan.
question, Todd. I didn't even think that.
I think I have a better plan.
Yeah, let's see the best detail you have there.
So right now, we have this situation where you have this kind of Y-shaped approach, and there's this big triangular island that sits right in the middle of it, and traffic passes on either side of it as they come up to the intersection, and in both directions. So if you're making a left turn, you go on this side of the island to turn left. If you're making a right turn, you stay on this side of the island, and cars coming off of Dwight pass down this side of the island, cars coming off Dwight southbound pass down this side. So the purpose of the signalization is to kind of more, make those movements more orderly. And so what we're doing is we're eliminating that big island in the middle, kind of splitting it, and now left turns would come up to the signal here and turn out onto Dwight. And left turns coming in would kind of come down through the middle. You would still have this right turning road more or less
So this
where
would
it
be
is.
right turn only?
Yes, that would be right turns only, yes. And then for the same thing coming out of Converse, you would also have this right turns. And these movements would not be controlled by the signal, but you probably would have a yield
So the
condition.
only thing that's controlled by the signal is going straight into the project or making a left-hand turn? Because right-hand turns are not controlled by the signal because you're taking this little right turn only, right?
Correct, yes. Now, what's also different about the proposed design is that we now will have a two-lane cross-section, two-lane southbounds on Dwight Road, so that as you're coming out here, you know, there won't be this constant conflict between the turning vehicles and the southbound through traffic. There'll be room to maneuver.
Okay, then you talked about 5 lanes here, so you've got
Yes.
1 lane straight through,
Yes,
you got 1 lane that's straight through or left-hand turn.
yes.
You got another lane that's left turn dedicated only,
Yes,
and then you've got the 2 lanes going that direction.
right, okay. With the heavy left turn volume that we have coming off of Dwight out to Converse, we have to allow them to do that in 2 lanes.
Anything else, Dave?
No, I just want to make sure that in the future, if we have a problem with people going Converse over to Maple and trying to avoid the other intersection, that we can readdress it. I mean, if their proposal works, then we're good to go. If it doesn't work, I'd like to be able to come back and readdress that.
And I think the last thing they want is people racing through their parking lots.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you guys don't want it.
Right.
And it's not good for us because everybody going over to Maple, having to make a hand turn onto Maple is gonna cause, problems within the town of East.
It would be a bigger problem for us than it would be for the.
It'd be a problem for both of us.
Yes.
We have a mutual interest to want to make sure that
We do.
doesn't happen.
We do.
Rob, I think we should point out, though, that this traffic improvement project
It's separate.
is not controlled by us.
Right, it's Long Meadow.
This is something that's.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. My questions were
It's under-
basically
yeah.
making sure that I understood what Long Meadow approved because, it may have an effect on what happens in our town.
Right, right. But in terms of like coming back, and if there was something going on with the intersections, then that would be something that you'd be going back to the DPW.
Well, our
for,
issue
you
is
would
gonna be
going back
the
to us.
traffic coming out on the Maple, and we can't control what happens at Converse, but all the left-hand turns on the Maple is what we're gonna be concerned with in the future, if there's a problem, and you will be too.
Yeah, so to help frame the discussion a little bit, anything internal to the site, obviously, we would accept the condition from the DPW and from your board, controlling internal access along that internal route. Anything that, and really, just to be clear, we're not here this evening for approval of the roadway. That roadway really is a municipal project that's being pursued. The DIF and the project itself is helping finance that, but that's really being pursued by the municipalities and through your DPW directors and with the good work of Fuss and O'Neill. that project will move forward, go out to bid under the municipal guidelines. The internal discussion and the internal roadways and the construction of this site will be controlled on the East Long Meadow side, certainly by Fairview Extended Care, and then certainly Mr. Crowley is here this evening. Mr. Crowley and his group on the Long Meadow side, I'm sure, are willing to work with us if there were ever any issues. So I think that's fair to say.
And then the
we'll have
last question.
We'll have the internal municipal agreement too, that the council and Long Meadow selectmen are going to be signing.
Okay. Then the last question is, if you're on Maple, now you're into Long Meadow again, making a right-hand turn, you're widening that. What's roughly, what's the stacking there on Maple? Because you said you're widening it on Maple to add more stacking for the right-hand turn there. I mean, right now it's very, very limited.
Right. So we're talking about this left turn
Yes,
lane, what?
right-hand turn.
Right-hand turns?
Yeah, so coming.
So if you're going west on
down.
Maple and you make a right-hand turn, right now it's pretty limited. I mean, you know, we want the guy in front of you to inch up a little bit so you can make that right-hand turn,
Right.
and you're widening that.
I think the extent of the full widening goes back about 300 feet from the intersection.
Okay, so that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't want him to back up to the entrance onto Maple out of your project.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to make sure there's enough clearance there, so we're not backing up cars there. So you can't make a left-hand turn out of your project onto Maple.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And the only comment I would have is we have reviewed it, and there is sufficient parking for the amount of building that we have. I just want to put that into the record. I know we've talked about that before, but just to make sure that that's in there. Okay, this is a public hearing, so at this point, I'll open it up to the public. If anyone has any comments or questions about this project. Mr. Page.
Ralph Page. Mr. Lick, as far as detention or retention basins, could you point out where those are located?
Sure.
Are they in East Long Meadow, Long Meadow?
That's a great question, Ralph, thank you. So what we have are a series of subsurface and surface infiltration basins. Most of the infiltration is done under the parking lots. I'll go to another plan in a second. The only surface basin we have is a shallow infiltration basin right up here. This is basically at the town line. We're required to match pre and post development runoff flows. We look at seasonal high groundwater and soil types to analyze the soil for drainage. We use TR55 and TR20 through a program called HydroCAD. So this has all been analyzed and been reviewed, but essentially there's subsurface infiltration basins under the parking lot, and there is also a surface basin here. We looked at accommodating it without the surface basin, and this was the most logical solution. We have been able to keep the two projects independent of each other, so all of the stormwater on the East Long Meadow side gets handled on the East Long Meadow side. All the stormwater on the Long Meadow side is on the Long Meadow side. So everything's independent, operates independent. There's really just the connection between the two properties. So really two projects working in concert that we kind of envisioned from the beginning of this process.
Anything else?
What's the elevation difference of the basin? Is it going to exceed 4 feet? Is it under 4 feet? Is it?
So it's about 5 feet to the bottom of the basin. So it's about an elevation of about 198 to down to about 193.
So is there any plans to do any fencing around it?
There is not. The proponents, generally speaking, there's also a surface basin on the Long Meadow side, and at least on the Long Meadow side. This is a very visible corner. We want to try to keep this as aesthetically pleasing as possible. We have 3-to-1 slopes on the side slopes of the basin, so the idea is that this is a mowable basin.
Okay.
We've also
That's
designed
good.
them with subsurface infiltration first. So in the treatment train, a lot of the water goes to the subsurface infiltration first. So that the idea is there won't be a lot of water in these basins, and certainly in the winter months is when we would be most concerned. We want to make sure frozen ground conditions, rain freezes, and then you have ice, and then the layer cake effect. So we have some dry wells in the basins to keep them dry. We also have farther up the treatment train, we have other infiltration basins that will basically handle the minor storm events that you would see in the winter months. When you're seeing the 100-year storm, which is 6.5 inches of rain, probably got it yesterday, but
Yeah.
6.5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period around here, you really don't see that unless you're getting a hurricane or getting back-to-back major events, something like we saw yesterday, or microbursts. So in the winter months and when we would be concerned that there wouldn't be proper infiltration, we've basically accounted for that in our design.
One last question for you. I noticed on the previous design, it looks like most of the parking is in Long Meadow. Are there any plans to take the snow from Long Meadow and move it into East Long Meadow on the surrounding facilities being a campus? And before you answer that, there's a general bylaw in East Long Meadow which prohibits any snow from out of town being transported into town.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and we are aware of that. There's no, we haven't gotten into the maintenance agreements. There's going to be some cross easements associated with these properties, obviously with the access points and pedestrian points. So Mr. Crowley and the folks from Fairview Extended Care will be communicating on the maintenance agreements and the cross easements. That said, there is no plans right now to bring snow to East Long Meadow. We probably want to give all the snow to Long Meadow anyway, right? So there's no plans to cross-pollinate with the snow.
Any other questions from the floor? Anybody? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Are there any additional questions from the board?
Yeah, I'm fixated on
Please do.
I'm fixated on the sidewalk to nowhere. So what is the requirement that there has to be a sidewalk on Maple Street?
So there's a couple things going on. So there's the corridor improvement projects that are being done under Complete Streets, which requires bike lanes and sidewalks, et cetera. There was also a specific request from your DPW director. When they're looking at a corridor project like this, they want to make sure that we're thinking not only of today, but decades in the future. So the idea was, at some point, there won't be a sidewalk to nowhere. So the sidewalk was requested. It does allow them, the folks utilizing the campus and the folks in the surrounding neighborhood. I know there's not a lot of pedestrians immediately in that neighborhood right now, and frankly, I wouldn't walk out there today. But in the future, with the bike lanes and the sidewalks and all the improvements that are being done here and the traffic improvements, it seemed like a logical request. It's certainly an added cost and to the project, and I know it was a discussion item early on, so I don't think we initially wanted to do it. But
What's the estimate for the
cost associated with the sidewalk on Maple Street? I don't know if you want to throw a number at that.
Not really.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
One thing I see there is that if you go down the industrial park now, you see a lot of people walking in the street at lunch hour. Okay, by having a sidewalk that connects with their walk-through, you can do a nice circular walk-around during lunch. And of course, these are all healthcare workers, so they want to be healthy. But seriously, without having to get out there on Dwight Street or Maple Street where it's not safe to walk right now.
So someday you may end up with a sidewalk from this intersection all the way to the Rotary.
Maybe there should be one
Even
going to the
though-
high school.
I don't see that happening.
Well, there actually is a sidewalk on Maple
Right.
Street
Yeah,
further
sure.
to the east.
Right,
and,
there is, yeah.
So
Much
there's,
further up.
Yeah.
But it
That
could be
does
part of
that.
our future development as
Yeah.
well.
It's part of the sidewalk plan.
It's on the plan.
when we have these kind of discussions with Mass DOT, they say, well, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Exactly.
And to the I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
To the sidewalk question, if we're coming along down Dwight, Converse Street, it will now have sidewalks all the way up
I
to
think they're
Dwight.
in there now.
Will there be a crosswalk button so people can cross over?
Yes.
There will be.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
That'd be right.
Anything else from the board? Does anyone on the board feel that they need additional information on this project to be presented? Hearing none,
Not at this time.
do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the special permit and site plan?
I would like to make a motion to approve the special permit and site plan with inclusive of all of our DPW, police, and fire regulations that they have put in play, and for a potential to, in the future, add any barriers or traffic restraints need be, or have a conversation about if it becomes a cut-through. Revisit.
Interior.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? We're including all of the...
Wait, we might
I'm
have
sorry.
further discussion.
So I'm just gonna throw out there, so
Yeah.
what's the feasibility of determining the cost of the sidewalk to nowhere and just having those funds contributed to the town's sidewalk account to be used by the DPW at their discretion?
I'd like to defer,
I
if we
think
could
that's-
defer that question to your DPW director, I think that would be more appropriate, because it's not, it's really not our project anymore,
Right,
that
he
corridor
really,
project.
Okay.
he really
fine.
Right,
was
okay,
insisting.
And that would, the hearing is closed right now, would require additional information and discussion on that. So it really would be outside the scope of what we're discussing here. Not to shut you down, but...
That's fine,
just to-
yep.
So we are including all of the suggested requirements from DPW in
Mhm.
both letters.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Can I just
Aye.
ask
Aye.
a quick
Aye.
clarification, I'm sorry. So we're approving the site plan, and we have 3 special permits that are within the application. I just want to make sure that it was inclusive of everything.
Yes.
And you're incorporating the findings.
Yes.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much for
Thank
all your
you.
time on this
Thank you.
project. It's been great, great process. Thank you, Rob.
There'll be more.
If we have another meeting like this, can we post something out front saying how to get back here? I was here in time for the beginning of the meeting and walked around for 20 minutes trying to get in here.
We can do that. We will try, usually there are signs that are posted. I don't know what happened to them this week.
Yeah, there were none.
Okay.
Our apologies, it is usually posted.
Robin, can I ask you to look into that to make sure that we
Yeah, there
have
was a
better
map,
signage?
yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, when people show up, it's confusing as to which door to come in, because it says this, that, or the other thing. And okay. Next item of business is 330 Chestnut Street, so. Do we have the opponents from 330?
First of all, my name's Frank Fitzgerald. I'm
How are you?
Hey, just grab one of those chairs.
Yeah.
Great, so, how are you? Nice to see you. Hi, everybody. Hello.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for putting us on the agenda this evening. My name is Frank Fitzgerald, and I'm an attorney with offices in East Long Meadow at 46 Center Square. And I'm very pleased that this gentleman made that comment about finding the place, because my clients were a little nervous tonight when we were walking through the left field of a baseball game trying to find a meeting. But in any event, we're here. I'm pleased to be serving on a team with Rob Levesque and Steve Severia, working with Joe Connolly of Eminent A Partners and John Takena of Eminent Partners on this exciting project. So with that, I'll turn that over to them, and they can tell you a little bit about their background and why we're here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Connolly. I've been associated with the property for about 24 years now. And we are here to talk to you about what to do with the site. I came to the town selectmen about 3 years ago when I posed that question, because we've tried everything. We had Milton Bradley, as you know, that was in the site, and then after that we tried to entice a company called Blue Homes that came in. We were very excited about that. And they found their success was on the West Coast.
Yeah, I
So they
remember
moved the
this.
operation to the West Coast.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So after that, we worked with Massachusetts Economic Development to try to find other uses for it. We've tried everything, even sports complexes. We looked at to do wind farms, solar panels. So we got to the point we said we think we've pretty exhausted the market. And that's when we turn to say, how to repurpose the property, what we can do with it. Which leads us to tonight, to think about how can we repurpose it, what we can do with it. During the period of time, why we haven't been back in the last 3 years, we waited for the town government to kind of get to the point where you're at today, come back and talk to you about it. And at the same time, we were looking for our development partner, which John Tankay is representing from M&M. And we wanted to find somebody that had the same ethics that we thought we had, and the same mindset about buy and hold property. We've held it for all these years, and we look to continue to hold it and develop it and see what we can do for it. So, John?
Thank you. As Joe said, I'm John Tykina from M&M Realty Partners. M&M is two guys, Jack Morris and Joe Marino, hence M&M. I'm very pleased. As much as Joe works for a family company, I also work for a family company. I say I already work for my principal's kids, and I'm probably already working for their grandkids. But we do have a like mind where we do, in our business, acquire, develop, construct, operate, and maintain projects. Right now in 3 states, in New Jersey, in Florida, and in California. We're Jersey-based, but we are taken to the faraway places, usually by our existing clients. That'll take us and say, hey, we have a project here, or we have a property here, can you help us get it developed? So we're very excited to be partnered up with M&A. And as Joe said, we started, about 18 months ago on our partnership. And y'all were going through a little bit of a government change, and we just sat down. We literally just sat back and waited and let everybody, let the process carry forth, and we're pleased that you did what you did. But as soon as you finished, here we are again. So we've been patiently waiting, and we'll continue to work together in the right time frame. I guess when we went to the council last month, the answer was, when, how long, how this, how that, and the answer is projects take what they take. And I'm sure the project that you just finished with has been here a few times and been talked about a few times, and et cetera, and had a lot of work go into it. And I'm sure that as we continue working forward, we'll be here more than a few times and be able to work through it in the right amount of time, for the project and for the community. So the project is 330 Chestnut Street. It is 40 acres. It's currently about 550,000 square feet of industrial manufacturing space. It's vacant. In 2 parts, there's a kind of a concrete bunker part that's maybe 20 or 30 feet high, built out of a whole bunch of concrete. So when we go to demolish that, bet on the building, it'll win. Bet the over. And that's about, maybe 400,000 feet. And then there's 150,000 feet that is in what's the tall building, the 55-foot high, high bay building, that is actually pretty amazing. It's about 3 football fields inside a building, and all the way that wide without any columns or anything. It's a pretty amazing space. But it has seen its life, and it's time for it to move on to be its next thing. So we're excited about it. We are between Shaker and Benton, so the project you talked about is actually right here. So we're going to kind of tie in Chestnut where it ties into Benton at that side, and then we have the intersection Shaker here. As Frank said, Steve Savaree is on our team, and he's going to look at our traffic, and we'll I guess we did counts so that we have all the new current information. We want to make sure we got that taken care of before school got out. But that's why we did it then. It had to be done before school got out. So I don't think we're jumping a gun and jumping ahead, but we want to make sure that we did get the counts before school got out, so we had the best information to work with the board on. So here's the property with Chestnut up at the top. Like we said, it's 40 acres. It's currently covered about 60%, and that's enough. So, as we started working with Rob, we said, hey, that's probably enough. And we're working with, we've had a great, some good conversations with Robin, and we're very excited about it. So as we continue to work together, We think that'll be real well, but, you know, just in terms of general parameters, that was an important one. Say, hey, what's the coverage, what's the coverage? So coverage is about what it is. You know, 60% is plenty, and we'll figure out what goes in that 60% from there. But that's, it's always good to have those base parameters, and that's a very helpful thing. So what, and the building we demolish, everything we demolish, everything we go, and we go to do something different. So what, you know, we've obviously, we've had a long time to think about this. 18 months is a long time. But so where the world is going, if you will, is particularly on projects of any size and scale, is to this concept of a live, work, play community. So it would be hopefully a mixed-use project where we would have what we would call, on the residential side, concierge living, both for sale and for rent. So we would hope to have a townhouse type product that would be, you know, a luxury product, but that would be, you know, folks, you know, that like myself or Joe or, you know, our kids are moving on, and, you know, it's time not to mow the lawn and all that stuff, but we still want to stay in town, and we have the opportunity to move from a single family house into like a townhouse, not have the maintenance, not have all those things, but still be close to all our friends and family. So we look to have, you know, that type of product. We look to have a condominium flat product, you know, for folks that want to move to one level. My in-laws actually just made that move at 80, so good for them. But you know, making the move to you know, to a condo flat, again, someone who doesn't want the lawn, doesn't want all those things. And then finally, a residential product, a for rent product that would be both in like a freestanding, just a residential building, as well as in a mixed-use building. So a building like this, where we'd have retail shops and offices and businesses on the ground floor, and then you know, residential apartments up above, the true, you know, apartment above the store type of thing. This type of live, work, play community is, you know, people are looking for, especially the new millennial generation, if you will, is looking for something with a little more activity than your typical, you know, garden apartment complex or whatever it is. And these are the types of places that you know, we think can be very attractive to keep that millennial brain power, you know, here in the Pioneer Valley, and keep them here in East Longmeadow, to give them that viable opportunity to be here in town, as opposed to, now I'm not saying they're not necessarily going to run off to Boston anyway, but you know, to keep them from running off to Boston or New York or whatever it is, maybe a little bit longer. So it is a concierge living type of thing, and where I get that from is really from our clubhouse. You know, so we'd have a central clubhouse that's, you know, a fairly large, you know, talking 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000 square feet. Would have a, you know, a pool outside, would have sitting areas, would have a lounge, would have a great fitness facility, a little small theater where, you know, you could, you know, screen, you know, a viewing of something, you know, pool tables, the business center. So these are actual pictures of our clubhouse at our project in Cherry Hill that M&M has been working on for the last 14 years. And it's a true mixed use, so we have, you know, retail on the ground floor and restaurants on the ground floor, offices and residential up above. We have townhouses, we have apartments, and we have our clubhouse that kind of sits at the middle of it all. And what's great about the clubhouse is we also have our concierges there. So, you know, literally, you know, particularly today, we didn't know this 10 years ago that this is where we're going, but the thing our residents love about it the most is there's some place for Amazon to deliver your packages. And there's someone to take them from them, and you know that it's safe and secure, and it's not sitting out in the rain and all those types of things. But the other thing that it does, that the clubhouse does, is it also, it serves as really a bit of a hub for the community. You know, if you're you know, you're a CPA who's working from home, or you're somebody who's lucky enough to work from home a couple days a week or whatever, sometimes you just get sick of staring at the cat and staring at the dining room table, and you have the ability to walk down to the clubhouse and sit in one of the business center offices, or sit out in the lounge, and, you know, maybe you sit there for a couple hours and get refreshed and see some people. That's an important thing. So we're very excited about the opportunity for concierge living, and that's really become the hallmark of all of our projects that we work on. In terms of the mix of uses, we would hope that we'd have, you know, some business uses some restaurants, some retail stores, those types of things, offices, medical office or, regular business office, CPA, accountant, lawyer, all that type of thing. The Quest Diagnostics, I'm trying to think of what my tenants that are on my places. Quest Diagnostics, the go for the blood type of thing, things that have, we like things that have actually a lot of activity, things that generate, so one of our best things is to get a pediatrician's office. They really run it in and out of there a lot. But to have that with some restaurants and places, for coffee, for sandwiches, for sit-down breakfast or sit-down lunch is a good thing. And then what happens is our residents, the couple of hundred residents that'll live upstairs, they become like the walking extras. So do I expect that the guy who lives in apartment 3B is going to come down and shop in the store every day, or come down and go to the deli every day? No, I don't. But I do expect that he's going to walk by there 4 times a day, and that just that level of activity makes it a place that, now again, we did this for dramatic photograph. I'd rather take it at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon when it's bustling, but this becomes a place where people are coming and going, and it might be a place where, your spouse is going into, for a doctor's visit, but you'd rather sit out here on a bench and watch the people come and go than necessarily stare at the 4 walls. So it becomes a little bit of a hub, a little bit of activity spot. It'd be small. It's, again, I think we're talking, less than 5 or 10% of the overall space. It's predominantly a residential project we're talking about, but we think this mix of uses, this activity is something that is really exciting. So that is my basic, what do you think? And this is what we're thinking, and in a very broad brush. And then we'd obviously like to answer any questions that you have and provide any information that we can, and then start to talk about what do we do now.
So Ty, you're...
Yeah, I'm very familiar with
developer.
this. Yeah, I'm a developer myself.
Okay.
And so I'm very familiar with these kind of projects. My daughter lives in one in Denver, actually. Zoning doesn't allow this, so
Right.
we gotta figure out a way of getting from point A to point B. But in any event, it's interesting, be a nice kind of project to have in town. But, we got a lot of hurdles to get from point A to point B. And I've met with Joe in the past before. It's good to
Yes.
see you again, Joe.
Yes.
Look good.
Does he look good? I need to up my green tie game. He's got a different one every time I see him.
Just so that you know, we are working together on a mixed-use bylaw. Frank is
Yeah, no, I
heading
understand.
that up, so, and it's gonna be an overlay, so that it's not a zone change.
Okay. I do those all the time.
So, yeah, you're familiar.
Yeah, you can show us how.
So we are working on that.
I think conceptually, it's a refreshing idea. It is something that we don't have and you don't see a lot of in our adjacent communities. To mirror what Tide said, there's a lot of hurdles. But I do think the concept and the continuous improvements that we've been doing over the last 20 years in that end of town are very beneficial. Okay.
Russ?
Just want to say thank you.
I know, I was gonna say the same thing.
I have relatives that used to work at packaged machinery, and it's just been that big honking building for many, many years. So, Robin, you did mention that you're working on a draft of maybe an overlay district. Would there be some consideration of special permit requirement as well, so that conditions can
Go
be
ahead,
placed on the
Frank.
project? I'm talking to you, Robin.
Oh, you're talking to me, yes.
Yeah.
You can, it's
Okay.
up to the planning board. Right now, the concept is for just a site plan, but if the board feels that a special permit is required, then you can go ahead and do the special permit
So
requirement.
my major concern is what if? What if you don't sell the condos? What if you don't sell the townhouses? What if the apartments don't rent? Then we have this very large residential buildings there. Some use will have to be put in there. And so, for me, I'm thinking of probably the worst case scenario, but that is a scenario that would have to be addressed. So,
We would, as we're drafting, we are drafting
Yeah.
the bylaw, we would much prefer if it would be a permitted use with a site plan, and we write the zoning bylaw the way that we want it, that we want it,
Right.
so that we're allowed, that we can do that. So that we write the bylaw in such a way that you get the things you want and you don't get the things you don't.
And what would be the legal structure? Because I take it you're the owner of the property.
We're gonna be joint venture
We're
partners.
gonna form a partnership.
Okay.
So his current partnership is M&A, and my current partner, my partners are M&M, and we're gonna make M&M and M&A. Or M&A and M&M, or whatever, and we're going to have a single purpose entity that will
Okay.
build, own, manage this facility. One of the reasons that, you know, we would like, you know, we would like a rental opportunity is, one, we think that luxury rentals or something just aren't here. We think, you know, that it's something that the market would respond very favorably to, especially folks that, you know, they want to sell their single-family house, they want to buy the place in Florida, they have the place at the Cape, they have the place on Block Island, whatever, but they still want to live in town, and it gives them an opportunity to rent and do those types of things. So we think that, that the rental community is great. The other thing it does for us, again, we want to build, own, manage, maintain for the long term, so we need something to own. So that's why we're thinking that the mixed-use portions would be what we would retain, and that the for sale portions would be something that, you know, would be sold. But, you know, we think that there'd be, I don't know if it's gonna be 50, whatever, but, you know, there's gonna be a portion that is going to be, you know, we're gonna keep it. And, you know,
We're talking about a phased-in development. isn't it?
and phased development, so we're not gonna build something, you know, so
It's
we're.
gonna be vacant.
Yeah, we're not gonna build something that's vacant, so, you know, even, you know, if we build mixed-use buildings in the front, it says 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, we're gonna build 1 or 2 to give us the critical mass, but not build all of them, you know, so that we do phase it in, so that we have occupied stuff that goes. You know, if we have townhouses, you know, we're gonna build them as they're sold. You're gonna build a model and whatever, but then you're gonna build them as we sold.
Okay.
Personally, townhouses, it's gonna be, they're gonna go like hotcakes.
And with the overlay district, you don't remove the underlying use that's allowed in the industrial garden district. So if, goodness forbid, that they do go belly up, you can still do manufacturing or anything else that's allowed in the industrial garden district without having to make a zone change or make any changes whatsoever. It's still there. Right, Frank?
Right, as John often points out in this project, that what we have, with respect to the project and the zoning, we got a blank sheet of paper, and we're filling it in. And Russ's question is a good one, and we understand as developers that when we do something in the town, we need the zoning track, we need the zoning bylaw to work with us, but at the same time, we understand it has to have some teeth. So we'll work with you on that.
Lou, any?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, it fixes an eyesore in the cities, the town, so I mean, it looks like it's just gonna benefit us, you know, the project. I mean, it's the hurdles that they have to get over, but I really think that we would benefit greatly with it.
I'll just say, I recently had the opportunity to tour a mixed-use development in East Hampton, which was a repurposed mill that's 100 and some odd years old.
With the indoor park?
The indoor park, yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Mill
that.
180.
I toured it the other day.
Whatever it is. And 140, whatever the number is. Anyway, and that's sold out in terms of both the residential and the commercial part of it. And it's got that space in the middle. It's very different from what you're looking at, but it's, the concept of the mixed use is the same. And that's East Hampton. I mean, that's not East Long Meadow. So I see the potential for good success here. Obviously, you know what our concerns are. Their traffic. Their traffic.
Yeah.
You've heard the previous one. And also the impact on the abutters. Because right next to you, you do have a very upscale townhouse development. Okay, and obviously, right now, there's a big buffer between you.
Yep,
We can
that stays.
That'll stay.
Yeah, so just, going forward, these are kinds of,
That'll
kinds of concerns that would have to be built into the overlay district to make sure that proper buffers are in, because, again, as Robin, I'm sure, has brought home to you and always brings home to us, is if we do an overlay district, then that can be overlaid elsewhere in town. And so, just because you have a nice buffer right now, somebody else might not, and we need to make sure that in the way it's structured, that no matter where it goes, it protects the abutters, and makes sure the traffic is, and that the coverage is appropriate, okay? And those are, to me, the three highest things. I mean, concept is great, it's all in the details, as you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll use fortunate, I'll hold my nose and say, it. We have a stream corridor here.
Yeah.
So, actually, when we talked to Rob, I was like, well, if you did, this and this and this, then you won't need any wetland state permit. I said, good, so do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
So we are going to stay completely out of the stream corridor and leave it untouched,
Yeah.
hands off, and just literally work it, on the developed side of the world.
Right.
So that's gonna give us the buffer, but what it'll allow us to do is to say, okay, for the bylaw, we'll be able to say, okay, where there's adjoining residential, blah, 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 that buffer needs to be 100 feet, or pick a number.
Yeah.
But, so we'll be able to do that. So that's what I'm saying, I'd rather write the bylaw, this overlay with those protections in there, and have us be a permitted use, which gives us some things.
Sure.
But because we are writing the bylaw, we can work on it together and make sure we get those protections that you want.
And just one last comment, we mentioned this to you when we talked to you 3 years ago, but you may or may not be aware that under the rail trail, there is a major fiber optic facility, that we have 3 pipes with fiber optic there, one of which the town has, one of which belongs to Mass Mutual, and one of which I believe is available. So that in terms of marketing this property, should it go forward, that access, I mean, this is a lot of data capacity that's
Bandwidth is
available
king.
there.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
It's right there.
it's something that, we had talked about trying to put a server farm in there, but that obviously didn't fly. In any case. Well, I like the concept, I think we want to move forward and work with you on it. This is not something we need to vote on.
No?
It's
No.
just informational, but when we get to more concrete things, we'll talk more concretely.
Okay.
Let's keep the conversation going and try to move things forward.
Okay,
Thank
so
you for your time.
we'll work with Robin on a bylaw and get something to bring forward.
Right?
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes forward to the council and gets referred, or does it come forward
It
directly?
does, no, it comes to the council.
Okay, so we'll
we'll have all our
make
questions.
that step.
Yeah,
So I want to be, so I understand there's timeframes and things.
yeah.
But John and Joe were sitting here telling you, if we're working on something and the time frame is it's got to be X number of days, John and Joe are going to say, no, if we need to take another month, we're going to take another month.
Yeah.
Okay?
We're not in a rush to get this through. We're going to
Right.
follow your lead. And
Right.
so that's what we've been telling Robin. We had a blank canvas to work with, and we'd like to proceed that way.
But if there's so we'll start the process with the submission and it gets referred. But now when it gets referred, we understand that we're going to have some time to work together.
Right. And my point of view personally, okay, is that I would much rather see a template for an overlay bylaw that we can then shoot at and work with you on, than to try to have this board as a committee come up with something, because
No,
it's
we've
not
got
gonna
it,
work that way.
it's really,
Yeah,
it's really looking good.
We have a template.
Yeah.
That's good.
And this
Definitely.
input is good, though. I think it's
Yeah.
important.
As long as we're both flexible on working with that.
Yes,
picture.
and we want to be very, very, very clear that that word flexible is
Yeah.
there, because, again, we're going to put something forward.
Right.
Because we know, I mean, he can give it his planning background. And, I've been a planner for 25 years, and all my boards that I've sat on, we understand it is much easier to have something put in front of you and then fill in the blanks,
Right.
and add to it, as opposed to staring at a completely blank sheet of paper.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
much easier for all of us
Right.
to edit.
Right.
So we're saying, listen, if it could have been written in pencil, we would have. You know, but, you know, the printers just don't do that.
And we all know that whatever we come up with is got to go to town council,
Yes.
which represents the people of the town. And so we've got to have something that is acceptable to the residents of the town.
They wanted to know if we could start in September, so I, you know. All right, I admit, that was my favorite quote of the whole meeting. But we're very excited about it. We're very excited about the project. We're very excited about the town, and I'm excited about this group. Joe will tell me if he's excited about it or not outside. But, you know, and we're looking, you know, Robin's been tremendous. Can't say enough good things. And, but we're very anxious to work with everybody.
Good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good talking to you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again, Joe.
And we're actually
Have a
back
good
on
night,
schedule.
Wow.
Thanks.
Amazing.
I know.
That's like, we put you back on schedule.
That's
Well,
right,
conceptual
that's
is
right.
easy. Really, don't go too far away.
Yeah, well,
You know?
okay, it's 7:30. We have a public hearing on a special permit and signage request for Pampered Pets at 576 North Main Street. Hi, do you want to read?
Yep, the planning board of the town of East Long Meadow will hold a public hearing on June 20th, 2017 at 7:30 in the school committee conference room at the high school, 180 Maple Street, an application for a special permit to open a doggy daycare and spa at 576 North Main Street. Information relating to this application is then filed with the planning board and available for review by the public.
Anything else?
Denise Dagon?
Deganis?
Deganis, Pampered Pets Doggy Daycare and Spa, and requesting a waiver of a traffic study. And that's it.
That's a special permit.
Yeah. So, tell us what we're doing here.
There's a parking.
Which one?
Parking plan? Okay.
It's for approval for doggy daycare. Parking site. North Main
RJG,
Street.
Robert
There we
Greeley.
go.
Okay. Which one is it?
Doesn't have, it just says North Main, so we're in North Main.
There's a sticker on it.
We have it.
Okay, good. Pass that down, so people can see it. Ty, you might share this.
If you remember, this is an A&R that was approved.
Correct.
Right.
2 or 3 weeks ago, right? Maybe
Maybe
2
a little
meetings
Yeah,
ago.
I remember that,
Yeah.
yes. We took out the lot behind.
Correct.
Yes.
Which,
Yes, to
which
make
made
sure
her
that
area
space for
larger
parking.
for parking.
Yes.
Okay,
To
so,
conform it to grade.
this is a special permit for because it's dog grooming? Okay. So tell us what you're planning on doing.
Well, it's gonna be doggy daycare, and then I'm gonna have a couple stations for grooming, and then a dog wash area. And then I'll have like different play groups for the dogs. I will have enough staff for the amount of dogs that I have there.
Okay.
And then I do pick up and drop offs also. So that's a good feature for a lot of my clients that, you know, are busy at work
Sure.
and can't be available for their dogs sometimes, so they like it. They'll just leave me a key, or they'll give me the code to their garage, and then I'll just go drop the dog off sometimes too for them. So it's quite convenient.
So there's no overnight?
No overnight at all.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, good.
just daytime.
Now, do you currently do this?
I have a pet sitting, I've been doing it for about 10 years, and I have a pet sitting, dog walking business now, and I've been needing to expand because I have a lot of clients that ask for this feature, so I've been looking for the proper place for it, and this kind of fell into my lap, and it's a really good location, so.
And where are you located now?
I just do it at people's houses. I'm in East Long Meadow now.
Okay.
Yeah, we go
So
to
I
their house.
Go to their house.
While they're at work,
Yep.
we'll let them out in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
feed them, depends when people come home, we'll walk them, let them out to the bathroom.
So this is an existing building, and it's right next door to the animal hospital.
Correct, which I know them well. And I told them that I would hopefully be coming in, so.
Okay.
Convenient.
Yes, and they're very happy, so.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, my questioning was actually parking and no overnight kenneling,
No
because
overnight.
that's not an allowed use.
Right.
And resurfacing of all that pavement to allow the
Yes.
parking, you're not gonna be doing it on that ungraded structure that's
The owner
existing
was
there right
gonna do
now?
it, he had it plotted, I think they might have put in the plan, he's gonna be, he had it surveyed.
Okay.
To get it up to the, as much space as that it will allow. And I know he's gonna be doing that once I get the approval, he would be doing that right
Okay.
away.
Okay. And we have enough spaces for the square footage of the building.
Which you never had before.
No.
Yeah, they just
No.
went and did all that, so
That is
that's a good
correct.
thing.
So it's a big improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
gonna
have
look
the
great.
interior design
Right.
of her build, of what she's gonna do.
And with all the plumbing that was in there for the salon, so it's
Yes.
very
Yes.
conducive
Yeah.
to what you're going to be
Perfect,
doing.
yeah, I can pretty much walk right in.
Are you going to be doing any exterior renovations?
Just possibly doing some awnings, I'm having them, I'm having some people work on some ideas as far as awnings, and then I'm just gonna put a sign up in the front.
Okay.
And that'll pretty much be it.
Oh. Which,
And you will need a sign permit for that.
Yes,
Which is
yes,
right
that I,
Which is,
yep,
fine.
I think I have that.
Okay.
I think I
She's
got.
good to go.
Provided she- provided she
I've
gets
been there
approved.
making sure I had my bases covered.
Yes.
Louis, any questions?
No, I really don't. I think I'm all for it. I think it's,
Russ?
I think it's great. Yep.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Sounds fine to me.
Yeah, this looks great. It's an improvement for the thing. It's a good use of the building and keeps it on the tax roll, so.
That's a good thing.
It's a public hearing. I'll open it up to the public. If anyone has any comments, any of the abutters might be here. Anyone? Hearing none, take it back to the board. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
the motion to close the public hearing?
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
We're taking turns.
Any further discussion?
Yes.
Just for our new folks, when we close the public hearing, we can no longer take additional input on the project, okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So the public hearing is
Thank you so
closed.
much.
Any further discussion about the issuance of the special permit and approval of the site plan?
No, I would like to make a motion to approve the special permit and site plan for Pampered Pets.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. What?
Not that they are taking turns.
Should we do the sign at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
So she doesn't have to wait.
This is a sign permit application dated March 27, 2017. Name of business and address is Pampered Pets, 576 North Main Street. Denise?
Degon?
Degan, sorry, thank you very much, appreciate that.
No problem.
I'm dyslexic, so
That's all
I
right.
struggle a little bit. 311 Elm Street. Property owner's name and address is Aaron Lewis, 1920 Adelicia Street. Very good. Contact person is Denise Dean. Phone number is listed here. Square footage is 30 square feet. Sign's 30 square feet, excuse me. Height above the ground is 8 feet. Attached to the building is yes. Projection, if any, is 6 inches. Setback from property line is 30 feet. Distance to nearest side yard is 15 feet. Distance to top of sign above vertical wall is 12 feet. It's a permanent sign. It is illuminated. Number of existing signs is 1. Number of proposed signs, 1. Application has been signed, and the estimated cost is $3,000. And that's it. The sign looks like this.
Yes.
And Robin, that's the right size.
Size. Definitely is.
And we have a check attached. Very good. I like the check.
It's
You can
a
give it back
copy.
if you want. I'll take it back.
Good,
Just in case.
because the check's gotta be in the bank. I'm assuming it is.
Any questions about the sign permit? No. Hearing none? All those in favor, do I have a motion to approve?
I would like to make a motion to approve the sign permit for Pampered Pets.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, sign permit is. Robin, how many signatures do we need on these?
Just one.
Just one, okay, so I'll do these afterwards.
Good. You're good to go.
What's next?
Thank you.
Thank you
Good luck.
guys, I
Good luck.
really appreciate
Good luck.
it. Thank
Do
you.
well.
We've got a couple of minutes yet before our next hearing.
Wow, we had more people here for the doggy daycare than we did for all the other public hearings.
Oh, yeah, let's bang some
We had a
out.
lot of fun.
Wow.
A lot of fun.
Okay, we have a few minutes before our next public hearing. Can we get to some of the waivers?
Request for waiver of site plan review, property owner is Heritage MZL LLC, in care of Winslow Property Management LLC. Owner's address is 80 Hayden Avenue, Lexington, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Airline Drug Inc., DBA Lewis and Clark Medical Supply. Owner of business is Clark E. Matthews Jr. Business owner's address is 23 Fernwood Drive, Wilbraham, Mass. Property address is 436 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. Property district is industrial. It's allowed use. Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday, 9 to 4. Total number of employees, including owner, is 3. Summary of business is retail, medical, supply. The application's been signed and dated May 17th, 2017.
This is in the Stop and Shop Plaza,
Yes.
and it's an allowed use in the zone. Any questions?
Which parcel is it taking over?
I knew you were gonna ask me that.
You knew I would too.
Let's
go.
Huh?
Let's go.
It's Let's Go? Thank you.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Thank
because they
you.
just went out about a month ago, thank you.
Oh, the yogurt place?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Good, I'm glad they're filling it so quickly.
Well, I mean, they come and go so quickly.
Yeah.
Do you have a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve the site plan waiver for Lewis and Clark.
Second?
I'll second it.
Very good, Lois.
Very good. Nice to hear from you, Louis.
All those in
Very good.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next one is Redstone Media Productions.
That's it, we're good? Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Cheryl Jobins.
Jobins.
Jobins, okay, great, excellent. Finally got it right. Property owner address is 579 Prospect Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Redstone Media Productions. Owner of business is Adian Shea McDonald. Business owner's address is 39 Western View Circle, East Long Meadow, Mass. Property address is 579 Prospect Street. Property district is AA. Allowed use is yes. Proposed hours of operation varies according to influx of jobs off-site. Number of employees is 1. Summary of business is photography services specializing in aerial operations, commercially licensed by the FAA. No clients at the home, no signage, home office, use only. Photography is all done off-site. The application has been signed by Cheryl Jobbins, and it's dated May 22nd, 2017. That's it.
That's it.
I had two different addresses there.
Yeah.
What's with that?
It's one where he works, whom he works for.
And that's right
The
near me,
employer.
and I don't recognize those names.
They're both 579.
I'm 566 Prospect
What-
Street.
What was Western View?
The business owner's address.
So the business.
Apparently, she owns the business itself, but this woman is the photographer. Redstone Media Productions is owned by someone else, and
Someone else.
she's a photographer.
But she is the resident at that site.
At 579.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
So it's basically a home office, okay, for someone who's an employee of another business.
Correct, it's Redstone Media is the 39 Western View.
Right.
Mhm. So
Okay,
she
so-
rents it or, lives there.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it's a resident of the building, not someone
Right.
taking it home and turning it into an office. Taking a residential building, living somewhere else and using it.
No.
Yeah.
Her address is 379.
So this is a home office, typically, nobody comes to the house, it's basically a computer and stuff.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we got 2 more minutes. Should be able to get one more in.
At least one more.
Yeah.
Every
Nice.
I was gonna say.
Let's go, John.
Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Laura Pixley, 8 Western View Drive. familiar address, familiar street tonight. Phone number is listed here. Name of proposed business is Folk Art Jewelry. Owner of business is Laura Pixley, 8 Western View Drive. Property district is A, allowed use is yes, proposed hours of operation are 6 hours a day. Number of employees are 1, we don't know which hours of the day, which 6 of the day. Summary of business is handcrafted jewelry from antique silverware, no clients to the home, no signage, storage bins, no signage, storage bins, I'm not sure why this is here, it says storage bins.
That's where she keeps her product.
In storage bins?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
plastic
She
storage.
sells products at art shows. The application has been signed and dated June 1st, 2017.
Okay, so this is another home office. She's a
Craft person.
Craft person, for a craft person, which is typically an allowed use as long as they're not selling out of the house.
Right.
Do you have a motion to
I
approve?
make a motion to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I've got 7:45, so shall we open the next hearing?
Sure,
We have,
if they're here.
at 7:45, we have a public hearing for an amendment to a special permit for Pride Convenience Incorporated at 618 North Main Street. Is anyone here for that? Is the applicant here?
Just stepped in.
Okay. Okay.
I got into the sunshine while I could, I apologize.
Tied?
The Planning Board of the Town of East Long Meadow will hold a public hearing on June 20th, 2017 at 7:45 in the School Committee Conference Room at the high school, 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass, on an application for an amendment to a special permit submitted by Pride Convenience, Inc. to change the hours of operation to 24 hours located at 618 North Main Street. Information related to this application is on file with the Planning Board and available for review by the public. I have a letter from Dawn Starks, 28 Elm Street, East Long Meadow, Mass, dated June 20th, 2017, to the Planning Board. Dear Planning Board members, I'm a lifelong resident of East Long Meadow. I have witnessed many changes in town, and I am keenly aware that there must be a balance between business and residents for the town to be both solvent and maintain quality of life. This letter is applicable to both public hearings being held tonight for the Pride properties at 618 North Main Street and at 13 North Main Street. The applicant seeks to substantially change business hours at both locations, which are zoned for business to be open 24 hours a day. Section 7.21 of the special permit bylaw clearly states that the special permit process is intended, in quotes, intended to ensure a harmonious relationship between proposed development and its surroundings, end of quote. The process will review uses that may have a, quote, substantial impact upon traffic, utility systems, and the character of the town, end of quote. I contend that the extent of the hours to 24 hours gas station convenience store will not may have a substantial impact on all of the above mentioned factors for consideration. I contend that the impact are not to East Long Meadow's benefit. Section 7.30B states that the use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. The Pride stations are surrounded by established residential neighborhoods built long before Pride came to town. Many of us use Pride on a regular basis. We know traffic is heavy on our streets at a certain times of day and is optimal for businesses. Our streets, as well as our neighborhoods, quiet down by 9 p.m. I'm very concerned that now our neighborhoods will be opening a floodgate of noise, traffic, and crime if the stations are open 24 hours a day. Crime is a serious issue. My neighborhood was rocked to the core when Rocky's Hardware Store had an armed robbery.
This was right in our backyard. A Pride Station in Ludlow, a community similar to ours in that it has business, industry, residential properties, had an armed robbery at 4:30 a.m., per the Republican 7/14/16. The Pride Station in the north end of Springfield had numerous incidents of stabbing, loitering, drinking, and smoking on the property. Pride said it was working with the neighborhood. Police officers said they disagree with that claim. Neighbors were frustrated because they had a meeting with Pride, but nothing was done to improve the situation. Per the Republican, September 13th, 2016, East Long Meadow is not the north end of Springfield, certainly, but why open the door? East Long Meadow has to decide if we are going to be South Springfield or remain East Long Meadow. A bedroom community to Springfield, this issue goes right to the heart of the character of our town. We know that the north end of town is under duress in regards to crime. Will the 24-hour stations have security guards? Will they have wall-through cash windows? What protections will the neighborhoods have other than relying on the police? What do the police say about having these two 24-hour stations? How much will it cost the taxpayers and police work? As mentioned, we are well familiar with Pride as they are in our neighborhood. I can only speak to the properties at the center as I am familiar with them. In winter, they're unplowed, often for at least a full day. Sidewalks on the streets are not shoveled. Lawns are mowed irregularly. Trash is often overflowing the dumpsters. If Pride does not care even about its own liability, how is it going to care about the impact on the neighborhood? How does this benefit East Long Meadow? East Long Meadow is a desirable place in which to live and do business. We rely on our public officials to maintain our quality of life. Pride came to town and agreed to abide by our bylaws. The bylaws were written to uphold the delicate balance of residential and businesses. Leave them in place and say no to 24 hours gas convenience stations. The town can grow, but not at the expense of the quality of life and safety for the people who live here. I ask that you deny the 24-hour extension. It benefits Pride, not the residential neighborhoods that surround them. It flies in the face of our special permit bylaws. 24-hour gas convenience stores do not ensure a harmonious relationship between the development and its surroundings. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Dawn Starks.
We'll take comments from the public when the time comes. Thank you.
This is a sentence or two from Jeffrey Delesio, who is our police chief. It says, not really. It will increase calls for service, I'm sure. I think once they find the business won't be there during the overnight, they might decide to scale back their hours.
He's a man of little words.
Yes.
Thank you for asking him that too.
Mhm.
We did.
And then, are we doing both public hearings at the same
Yeah,
time?
no, you already
No.
read that.
Oh, the
No.
same one I just read? Okay.
They're separate public hearings.
Yeah, I didn't,
Yeah.
You already read
yeah, gotcha.
Could I just ask you to repeat Delesio's?
Yeah, he
I
said.
had a very
asked for
difficult
this.
time understanding what he
Yeah,
said.
I'll read it and then I'll let you take a look at it.
Well, he's answering a question. The question was, if you don't mind, for just a second. Please provide me with your thoughts and comments on the issue of 24 hours for the Bulldog properties. You can add your thoughts on the issue of the gas station on Shaker as well. Because
Okay, apparently this is an email, and it's, the format is kind of, so apparently he's responding to an email, and his response is, to what Robin just read, not really. It will increase calls for service, I'm sure. I think once they find the business won't be there during the overnight, they might decide to scale back their hours.
So what he's saying is
In the future, I'd like better clarification if we could get that from him.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
what he's saying is it is going to increase the police activity and hours there. However, he wasn't clear when he did it.
Right.
like I said.
Yeah, I think in the future, we should request a more formal report from the police department.
Similar to what we get from Bob Perrin.
Or from the fire, or from,
Well, his are very detailed.
or from the
He's-
fire
he's-
department.
I mean, we know what he's, from the
Fire
fire department.
department didn't have it.
No, but no, I mean, normally when the fire department gives us a report, it's,
Well, mhm.
yes. Well, if you'd like, I can have a conversation with Mr.
You
Delisi.
might want to do that,
Okay. Be that as it may,
because I've already had it.
please identify yourselves and tell us what you're planning on doing.
Good evening, my name is James Channing, I'm corporate counsel, for Pride. I think I've known, I'm also a rookie resident of East Long Meadow, I recently moved into the town. I have 2 children, so I'm very familiar with the town.
Welcome to the town.
Character, and there's certainly obviously a reason that my wife and I chose to move in here. That being said, I think we obviously are requesting for your consideration an amendment to our special permit for 618 North Main Street to allow for 24 hours of operation. I'll get into several other reasons why, but I think just to preserve the record, because there are 2 new members for 618 North Main Street, I know that there was some consultation with town council as to whether or not you have the jurisdiction or the authority to allow us to amend our hours or to have a say in us changing those hours. And so I just think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a background briefly. This property was purchased by Pride in 1986, was operating as a service station subsequent to that. In 1998, there was a substantial remodel. During that time, there was a new special permit that was issued. That's the current special permit that stands. There's no mention in the special permit whatsoever restricting or in fact mentioning hours of operation at all. And so I think that's a noteworthy point as to whether or not you have the ability now, as the planning board with all deference, to then reevaluate the situation and impose an additional condition. If in fact, as professional courtesy, we reached out and let the planning board know and the town know that we're thinking about doing this. I'll get into the reasons why in a short while. But I think the question still remains as to whether or not the planning board has the jurisdiction or the authority at this point to indicate that we have to come before you and amend our special permit. There's no question that if in the future there were some issues or concerns, as obviously some people speculate there may be, that you clearly have the ability to reevaluate the special permit. But with all due respect, I'm not sure at this point if you'd have the ability to. Ms. Scora's, I believe it was, letter indicates that the zoning bylaws mention are harmonious with the zoning bylaws. Obviously, there's very specific criteria that needs to be met with every special permit. But nothing in the East Long Meadow zoning bylaws or regulations per se prohibit 24 hours operation. As a matter of fact, in page 8.3 or section of the East Long Meadow regulations in defining convenience stores indicates that a convenience store is a retail establishment that typically is offered or open between 15 hours to 24 hours a day. So there's certainly some contemplation or consideration on the reading or the writing of the regulations to allow for the potential possibility of 24 hours a day operation. So nothing prohibiting it per se, but obviously there's some due consideration that the planning board has with respect to the special permit. And so when evaluating the situation that this specific, against 618 North Main Street, looking at the special permit, again, it was a business decision by Pride back in close to 20 years ago, 19 years ago, to not operate 24 hours. It's been a consistently operating, early in the morning, 5 a.m. till later at night, but certainly those overnight hours, specifically I'd say between 12 midnight to 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And that's obviously what we're seeking to do, is to allow for that operation for a number of reasons. One, times are changing. Whether or not the town, how the town wants to adapt to it, or whether the town wants to adapt to it from a regulation standpoint, the reality is that it's a 24-hour lifestyle. Of those lifestyles, there's a demand for it now. And with all due respect to the chief, obviously, there's a business decision to be made. If it wasn't in our business interest, Pride wouldn't be here requesting it. But we think that the public will be served by this. We think that there's obviously a demand or a want for it. But we also think that it would benefit the town. If you go back to thinking about convenience stores and what people want and what people need, I think there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of myths that go to it, specifically between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. If you do look at a study, it's a lot of the shift workers. What's known as shift workers are individuals that typically go to a convenience store or a gas station between the hours, specifically I'll say midnight and 5 a.m. Of the people that frequent that, 90% of those are shift workers. And the majority of individuals that are shift workers are both emergency personnel as well as EMTs, medical technicians, hospital people, or hospital employees, I should say, apologize, as well as nursing home individuals. In the wintertime, you'll get the snowplow drivers or the other individuals that may be working, or obviously East Long Meadow shifted. There's a lot of third shift demand. In fact, when we were inquiring of our employees at the East Long Meadow location, do you think it would be worthwhile from a business standpoint to consider this? They said it would. There's a lot of third shift individuals, whether it be the potential of Linux Saw or Cardamundi to come in, and there would be a demand or a want. And looking at the concern of crime, I can tell you as a former prosecutor that there's really a myth that there's a potential for armed robbery if the store is open. Well, again, obviously there's a potential for armed robbery if the store is open, but there's a lot more risk if the store is closed for breaking and entering. A lot more people, there's a bigger target if a store is closed than if a store is open. And Mr. Bolduc can speak personally to that from his experience at over 30 stations as to the ones that are closed, ones that are open. In fact, ones that we've, from a business standpoint, have opted to open sheerly for the fact as a deterrent from the break and enter. There's obviously a break and entering issue in the town of East Long Meadow. I think recently the Dunkin' Donuts and one other business were broken into overnight. So obviously the crime factor, the crime consideration is there. It's not going away. I don't think it would necessarily open up. But then we get into the consideration as to, does the public want it? Do the residents of East Long Meadow, the consumers want Pride to be 24 hours? And I can tell you, we put out a petition inviting people, again, if they wanted to, sign and support our pledge for 24 hours. And specifically this began in May 2017. And this specifically, again, is just for the 618 North Main Street. And of that, we had 424 people sign the petition supporting our request to go 24 hours a day. That's in addition to 287 signatures at specifically the 13 North Main Street location. So in total, there's over 700 individuals have pledged support of this application request. I can tell you that Ms. Lassard, a direct abutter who lives directly behind this 618 location, was not able to be here today, but on her own volition, in fact, she's the individual, the second person to sign the petition. And she also submitted a letter for the council's or for the planning board's consideration. I'll read it for the audience as well as for those at home. This says, 13 Thompson Street, Ms. Leona Lassard, regarding Pride Convenience Inc. application to change hours of operation to 24 hours. As an abutter, I would like to comment that I am in agreement with the operation of 24 hours. The activity would enhance the area full-time, eliminating hours of darkness and vandalism. Bob Bolduc has always been conscientious about respect of the residential neighborhood. Please address the reconnection of the floodlight at the corner of 13 Thompson Street to accommodate the 24 hours of operation. Thank you.
Okay, so you would like both of these items included in the record of the
I
hearing?
would, please.
Okay. Robin, can you date and initial them?
So, you know, we also directly reached out to the police chief, D'Alessio. His sentiments or comments to us were similar to yours. Although he didn't express any opposition, direct opposition, he's not adamantly opposed. He obviously addressed the fact that there is the potential for additional calls of service. There obviously could be the need. I'd be remiss to say that I'm a little reticent that he's not here, or at least wasn't asked to write a letter on our behalf to say maybe there could be some benefit to the town as well. But notwithstanding that, we can't look in the past, we can only look to the future. And the future is really what the special permit criteria is. What are you as the planning board asked to consider? And again, you have the ability, among other things, to determine whether the development as is or the change as proposed will adversely affect the neighborhood, and that there will be the nuisance and exterior features or appearance will not be detrimental to the surrounding neighborhood. Again, the special permit as issued has been in operation for over 20 years. Albeit with respect to that first letter, there were some concerns of littering, and I think that was more maybe for the 13 North Main Street. There were some issues of shoveling and sidewalk, but I can tell you, it's my understanding that we haven't been brought before the planning board. Those are the first I've heard of some of those. But we haven't been brought before the planning board. There was no concerns. And so then, the issue is to what kind of reputation and character does Pride have? And I'm not gonna sit here and speak, although I think I could, as to what reputation and responsibility Pride has. But again, the business of Pride, the model, is something that people aspire to frequent. It's something that people want to go to. They feel comfortable there. I tell you, my wife personally works overnights and she feels comfortable going to Pride stations down in East Long Meadow, with Pride stations, because she feels comfortable at that location, whether it be the police present that's typically there, the lighting, but also obviously the friendliness and the approach that employees have. And so again, in the regulations, there's nothing restricting 24 hours of operation, but the question comes into before the planning board. Does this potential change adversely impact the area? And there's a lot of speculation to that. And you're asked to, again, not necessarily speculate, conjecture, but consider the request and consider, does it potentially, or what impact could this potentially have, and whether or not you have the ability to impose conditions, restrictions, or bring Pride back before you to address those concerns. And again, you do. There's no question, I don't think I have to remind the planning board that you have the ability to impose restrictions, or more importantly, bring us back before you if there are concerns, if there are issues, if you want to do it on a conditional basis. I think I'd be remiss not to mention the competitive business aspect. I think everyone in town knows that there's a new gas station coming in at the corner of Shaker Road and I think Chestnut Street. And again, that's been allowed 24 hours. This board, back in March 2014, allowed them to operate 24 hours. They issued a special permit, was silent on the issue, but it was brought up during the public hearing. There were numerous objectors to that, and yet it was still allowed. And so from a competitive basis standpoint, I think you'd be remiss not to say that why can't Pride be on the level playing field? We enjoy competition. We think competition is good because our business model aspires above everyone else. But not having a level playing field is just unfair. It's unfair. In fact, in Circle Lounge and Grill versus the Board of Appeals of Boston, they indicated and evaluated as to what fairness would be. And in that, the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts said, no part of the purpose of the zoning regulations are to protect businesses from competition. In fact, they would often operate to increase competition by limiting the areas within which certain businesses can be carried on. And I think that's what the regulations did, what the planning board does, and what the town of East Long Meadow does by regulating where gas stations and convenience stores may operate. And you regulate them in both the industrial district and the business district. And that's what we have here. We have a station that's coming into town, that's already been authorized to operate 24 hours, and we as Pride, as an individual who's been well established in the community, is just asking for a level playing field. A level playing field to allow us the same opportunity to have people come. Because if it is between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m., someone's going to go to the other station. And are they more apt to go there again? They are. And that's, again, taking away from Pride's business. It's depriving us of the right. In fact, it's an anti-competitive infringement in both the Sherman Act and the Clayton Act. And so the only question is as to what concerns the planning board may have, as to whether or not there may be some concerns and ways to address those concerns. But with all due respect, I think that this request meets the zoning regulations. Specifically, there's no prohibition against it, but also the precedent has been set that 24 hours are coming into town. We're not asking you to reinvent the wheel, to create anything but a level playing field between us and this new gas station coming in.
Thank you. I'd like, before we open it up to the board, to read it to the record, a legal opinion that we have from James T. Donahue, the town attorney, dated March 27, 2017. Dear board members, you have requested an opinion in substance as to the following question: whether Pride Convenience Incorporated, which operates a gasoline convenience store facility on the premises known as 618 North Main Street, is required to obtain an amendment of its special permit to increase its current hours of operation to 24 hours, 7 days a week, since the permit issued November 10th, 1998 is silent as to the hours of operation. I have reviewed the zoning bylaws, and it is my opinion that pursuant to the purpose and intent of requiring a special permit set forth in section 7.21 and the written request of the owner to increase the hours, the business must obtain an amendment to said permit to increase its current hours of operation, whether or not the hours are specified specifically in the permit. Currently, the operation of the facility is significantly less than 24/7, and its impact on the area and the town are the result of its present hours of operation. The requested change to the established hours may alter the impact of its operation on the town and the neighborhood. Therefore, the determination of whether the alteration of the current hours of operation will have any impact on the area requires a hearing to determine if an amendment to the special permit complies with the purpose and intent established for a special permit. Section 7.26 authorizes a special permit granting authority to modify, amend, or review its approval of a special permit upon written application of the owner, lessee, or mortgagee. The owner of the business has submitted such a request. See letter dated March 17, 2017, from Pride Convenience to the town manager. Such a request requires a public hearing, section 7.26, to determine if the request is consistent with the purpose and intent of the bylaw and complies with the criteria necessary to obtain such a permit. Section 7.21, see also section 7.30, clauses A, B, C, and H at least. Therefore, you should notify Pride Convenience of the need for it to file an application for an amendment to its special permit. Once the application for the amendment is received, schedule the required public hearing. So we have an opinion from our own town attorney, which is now in the record, that says that yes, it requires, in his opinion, it requires an amendment to the special permit. Having said that, let me open it up to the board for questions or comments. Louis, you want to start?
Well, you know, I went through the petition, and I was looking at the addresses, and it seems like there's a lot of people, you know, in that neighborhood, you know, on Thompson Street, and, you know, Gerard Ave and over in that area, and they signed the petition, so I'm not questioning, you know, there might be a couple that don't like it, but we gotta hear from them, you know. 24 hours, I mean, what's the crime? Has there been any crime there in normal business hours?
There has not. And in fact, excuse me, I'm Bob Bolduc, the founder of Pride. We have not had any crime there in normal business hours, and we have not had any crime, for the 30 stations that we operate, the amount of crime that we have is 1/10 of 1%. The last incident was one in the north end, there's no question about that. It was two people who stopped in on the way by and they got to fighting over a girl. They had no intention to steal from us or harm any of our people. They were fighting over a girl. We all saw it, and the police saw it on tape, and that's what happened. We do not have a crime problem. Okay? I know that our industry sometimes has a reputation of having a crime problem, but the fact is it's not there.
That's my only question.
Russ?
I just have three things that I'm thinking about. One, was Jim Donahue's letter shared with Mr. Channing prior to this meeting?
Yes.
Okay. The second thing, and I don't know if you can answer this, but being my first meeting, and Attorney Channing mentioned that there was a special permit granted to the still unopened gas station at Shaker. So either now or after the public hearing closes, I'd like to get some feedback on what your thoughts were that you had to specifically offer a 24-hour provision in the special permit. So,
I think we can begin to address that as part of this hearing, because it does bear on it, I believe.
Okay.
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 Deb, you have any?
Well, you said three.
Yeah, and I just forgot my third one.
We'll come back to you.
I might come back to it.
We'll come back to you. One thing that's very relevant to your question about the new station that's going in, one of the questions that we kept asking was, will this have a negative impact on the abutters? And one of the big differences that I see, down there, it's in an industrial zone. The abutters are La Fiorentina, okay, and a couple of factories and a pumping station. Okay, there are no
Photography shop, right?
yeah, there are no residential abutters to that particular piece of property. And that was a consideration that we discussed when we were considering that because it was industrial, because it had no residential abutters, then having lights on and a certain level of noise in the early morning hours was not going to be detrimental.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, Attorney Channing mentioned that nowhere within the bylaw does it reference 24 hours.
Correct?
But you felt the need, apparently from what he's representing, to put a specific provision that it be allowed to be open 24 hours.
As I recall, it was not actually put into the special permit.
Okay.
Okay, in the discussion with the developer. Okay, and this was not the developer that's currently there. And that special permit is going to have to be revisited because the ownership has changed of the project. Correct, Robin? Correct. So it needs to be revisited. But what we stated was, because it was in a industrial zone and therefore would not have a negative impact on residential abutters, we would not put into the special permit the hours. They would operate at 24 hours, and if we got complaints that this was a nuisance, that we would revisit the special permit. Okay?
And I just remember my third thing.
Okay, go right ahead.
Trying to be as polite as possible, but I do not accept Chief DeLasio's comments to us. And before I would want to take a vote on this, I would want something much better than what was presented to us for his comments. I would like to, really a professional opinion from the police chief on, what, he has maybe investigated at, other similar type communities, what have been their experiences, what his, just something more that we could put some teeth into an opinion, so.
Is it correct, Robert, we do not currently have a public safety officer?
No, we don't.
Okay, so the chief is acting as public safety officer in this case.
Stu Stroman will look at plans now, but it's not the same as it used to be.
Right, so it's the chief is acting as the public safety officer.
I will talk to him again, though. I'll talk to him
It's,
tomorrow.
one line is not sufficient.
Well, first of all, Mr. Bullock, I shop at your store all the time. I'm there quite a bit. I work on this side of town that we're discussing right now. I've had some residents express negative concern to myself. I've also spoke with a few other individuals on the police force, and they have said nothing about being open 24 hours. They have said a majority of their time is spent in that area of town, being that it abuts the Springfield line. And Mr. Attorney, you did say that your wife felt very comfortable when she was in Pride, and that's why she continues to go to Pride gas stations. And one of the comments you did make, whether that be the police presence there. So if asking for 24 hours, are you asking for continued police presence there?
And we're not suggesting that security needs to be needed, but quite frankly, the police feel comfortable to get a cup of coffee when you work the dog watch or the midnight shift. Police tend to be there more frequently. Police and my wife, I'd be remiss not to disclose that she has a relationship with law enforcement. But my wife, again, feels comfortable going there, whether it be to use the ATM with knowing that there's also a likelihood or more, a higher likelihood that if you need a place to stop at 2 in the morning, that there's gonna be a pretty good chance that in the general vicinity there would be police if necessary. Not saying it is necessary, but if necessary.
Right, and that would be something to talk about. Who pays for that?
Well, if you all deem the security was required, we would be happy to pay for that. I would say this, I don't see the police at any of our stations in East Long Meadow any more than I see them at any of our other stations. They stop in for coffee just like any one of our customers do. But I don't think you can attribute the fact that Jim's wife feels safe or that.
I just wanted a clarification.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're hanging out at our station at all. In fact, I have never seen ELPD at either of our stations. And I'm in them a lot.
And in there, I might have more conversation later, but as of right now, we've seen the signatures of people that are for it. I'd like to hear from the rest before I speak further.
Can I have the petition for resolution put back? Robin can date it and initial it as being accepted for the record. Tide, any comment you want?
You know, I agree with Mr. Denver. I'd really like to see more from the police chief on his opinion on this matter. Other than that, I don't have an opinion at this moment. I do have a rewards card, by the way.
So do I, so do I.
I used to have a car, up to recently I had a car that had diesel.
I think half of my crew at work keeps this particular one in business anyway.
But that has no bearing on my decision, of course.
No, full disclosure.
No, we understand, it's a common problem that we have now.
And, you know, personally, myself, I hear what you're saying, I also hear what I'm hearing from other people. I think, to me, the key criteria are 730C, there will be no nuisances such as noise or safety hazards created, and B, that the use is developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. And that's, I think, where our decision has really got to come down. And also recognizing, as I mentioned to Mr. Denver, that these two stations are both in a business zone, not a industrial zone, and that they both have close abutters, some of whom I see here tonight, to them that could be negatively affected by having more lights on and more noise. Okay, so these are things that I'm mulling over in my mind at this point. But I don't have any other additional specific questions for you. Please.
Could I comment on what's been said a lot, and that is noise and public safety and all, if we're open?
Yeah.
And tell you about a station in Springfield that about 3 years ago was being broken into about once a week. And so we said, well, let's change it to 24 hours. And we did. And that first night, I wish I had been a fly on the wall, as they say, because we had a sweet young lady in there. And I'm sure when that individual or individuals came along to break in, and she said, welcome to Pride, that they got a surprise. But the fact is, that stopped all the crime. And before that, the police were responding once a week. As for noise, if you think about it, we're not a noisy business. People come and go all the time. And we're open late now, we're open early now, and I don't think any neighbor would say that it's noisy at 11 o'clock or at 5 in the morning, because people come and go quietly about their business. So I think, if anything, crime has decreased, noise is not an issue, and our reputation for keeping a clean operation, I think, speaks for itself.
At this point, I'm going to open it up to public. I would ask that you stand and identify yourself with name and address, and I would ask that we want to hear what you have to say. Don't want to hear the same comment 10 times. Okay, so if you could make sure that you're not just going over the same ground that's been gone over, that would be useful. I mean, you can reinforce it, but we want to move things along. Please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Marilyn Richards, for the record. I live at 342 Pinehurst. I have a prepared letter that I'd like to read into the record.
Please.
But when I wrote the letter, I didn't have the benefit of hearing some comments, and I'd like to respond to a couple of comments that were made by the petitioner before I read the letter, if I may.
Please.
First, about the petition. I always get a little curious about petitions that come in under circumstances like this. A petition that sits at the cash register and someone goes in to pay for their coffee or whatever, and they're asked to sign this petition to support Pride. I mean, they're there because they're supporting Pride, and no one's arguing with the business that's going on during the day. But we had the same situation as planning board members when I was the chairman, and Fusion brought in a petition. And they were arguing with the planning board because we refused to give them the late night hours that they wanted because they were in close proximity to the same residential district that we're dealing with 13 North Main Street. So I just want you to put petitions in proper perspective. I know that people have signed from areas, but I would guarantee you if I walked the streets of East Long Meadow with a petition, I might have a few signatures of my own. The second comment is about the Special Permit Granting Authority. As a member of the Special Permit Granting Authority, when we amend a special permit, you have the right and the privilege to look at everything you choose to look at as planning board members. We have established hours of operation with most of our special permits. Perhaps this was a slip up or we didn't set one up with pride, but its hours of operation are just as important, and it's gotten us into some sticky wickets, as I just mentioned with Fusion, because we are not just dealing with one situation, we're dealing with the town as a whole, and the benefit and the concerns that it would have for everyone, supporting business but also not letting our residents get lost in the shuffle. That being said, here's my prepared letter. Dear Ms. McDonald and planning board members, this evening the planning board will be asked to consider amending the special permit applications for 2 Pride convenience store locations, both situated along Route 83, also known as North Main Street. The applicant's request is to change the hours of operation at each location to a 24-hour operation. This letter addresses the Pride convenience store at 618 North Main Street, as well as the Pride convenience store located in the town center, 13 North Main Street. Pride Convenience is under special permit as a combination gas station convenience store operation. As you are aware, this combined use was placed under special permit, as such a combined use has the potential for nuisance issues, adverse effects on neighborhoods, and may not be in harmony with the general purpose of the town zoning bylaws. This letter is written in opposition to the proposed changes in hours of operation at both Pride convenience store locations. While both operations are located in the business zone, each location directly abuts residential properties, and like so many other similar locations throughout the town, there is insufficient distance and buffering to offer protection to the residents from any loitering, foot traffic, noise, external lighting, decreasing property values, and potential criminal behavior. It should not be hard to imagine just how difficult it would be trying to fall asleep with pedestrian activity just beyond your doorstep. As a former member of the planning board and one who has participated in numerous special permit hearings, I have reviewed the conditions of the special permit process, and I am of the opinion that the proposed use change does not meet all the standards in section 7.30 criteria under special permit. I therefore respectfully request that you deny this change. All 24-hour operations, with the exception of police, fire, and medical, are not necessary for our quiet suburban town. The neighbors that abut these areas deserve the quality of life they have come to expect and enjoy here in East Long Meadow. Please say no to this request and allow East Long Meadow to have a good night's rest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to, please?
Good evening. I'm Rolando Curtis. I am directly behind Pride Station, 23 Van Dyke Road. As opposed to going 24 hours, I would like to address the noise factor as the dumpsters come through at 4:30 in the morning, at least 2 or 3 times a week. Also, the late evening hours, Pride closes at midnight, but there are cars there parked on the side, running, waiting for their customers to come out sometimes till midnight. I mean, it is, Bob has been an extremely good neighbor. Keeps the Pride stations very clean, very friendly staff. Now that Meadows has changed over and has finally become quiet, I can finally get some peace and be able to sit in my own living room and listen to the TV and the news. A continuation of 24 hours is only going to bring more noise, more traffic coming through all night. So that's my reasoning for opposing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to this issue?
Ralph Page, 306 Prospect Street, as you know, former member of the planning board. I'd just like to speak to the reasons that we've actually broken our town into zoning. We have commercial zone, we have business zone, we have industrial garden park. Typically, our industrial garden park and our industrial is allowed to be operating 24 hours a day. We had concerns, I believe Mr. LaPlante did the last zone change, and we changed it to commercial. One of the reasons being that we changed it was that we felt as though it needed a softening going from residential to business. Commercial was that. With this situation being, asking to be open 24 hours, you have residential directly behind the business. Where on Chestnut Street, you didn't have the residential that close. I'm in opposition to this. I don't believe we should allow the 24-hour operation, and thank you for your time.
Anyone else wish to speak to this issue? Sir?
John Fitzgerald, 14 North Street. I don't think we need it. We're gonna bring elements up in the X, which is creeping up in the East Long Meadow so bad. Do you wanna go to Stop and Shop or Big Y at 9 o'clock at night and walk in a parking lot? I don't. I don't think we need it to benefit somebody else to make more money. We don't need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this one? Sir?
Ralph Butler, 4 Elmcrest Street. I just want to address the fact about robberies. Mr. Bolek mentioned robberies, and if a place is closed, there's no chance of a robber beating up or shooting a clerk at night. So if the place is shut down at night, we don't have to worry about somebody getting accosted.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Emmanuel Reyes. I live 25 on Elm Street. And I just want to mention that whoever wrote the letter, the beginning letter, it was 100%. I agree with him 100%. I do go at night time to the gym, and I see how all those gas stations that are open, they have crime and people hanging around. And those people, they're gonna be coming just to the front of my house. And I really would not like to see that, because it's gonna bring my peace down, my property value down, and the main thing is they don't clean the sidewalk, so I don't trust them. I know they're not gonna do what they're supposed to do, and that's what I'm concerned about.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak to this one?
So I'm Marisol Reyes, my husband, and we're at 21 and 25 Elm Street.
Can we get your name again, please?
Yes, Marisol Reyes. Marisol,
Yeah, thank you.
Marisol.
Thank you.
And the last name? And so my
Reyes.
folks, Reyes, live next door to
Right.
us at 21, and so we have a lot of issues with the dumpster. My folks are elder, and so, you know, they have difficulties with sleeping, the lighting. There is traffic issues, so I use Pride regularly, but I grew up in town, and so there's something about the center of town being quiet when it's supposed to be quiet. You know, we have so many other things coming into town. Why do we need one more 24-hour gas station so that we can constantly have traffic in and out? And then where we're at, never mind where Mr. Curtis is located, you know, we still have folks that are coming from Springfield down by Allen Street, so there's gonna be folks coming in that way. And again, I know, sir, you didn't want things reiterated, but, you know, it's not maintained well. The dumpster is an issue, the time that the dumpster is taken care of, the plowing. My husband regularly plows or snow blows that sidewalk so that the kids can walk back and forth and other folks can walk. It's not appropriate. So I just wanted to add my piece and just let you know that I just think it should be something that's denied. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to add 618? Hearing none, bring it back to the board. We have requests by 2 members for a clearer statement from the police department. To get that, we're going to have to continue the hearing. Do we have time to do that, Robin?
What do you mean time?
Well, the hearing has been open. We
Right.
can continue it.
We can continue it to July 18th is our next.
Is our next meeting. And we have a request from 2 members for a better statement from the police department. And I think the police department's opinion is very important here. And so,
July 18th at 7 o'clock.
yeah, I would like to continue this public hearing. We've gotten a lot.
May I just say a couple of things in response before we formally
Can I
continue
finish
it?
my statement first?
Absolutely, I just want to formally continue.
I would like to suggest to the board that we continue this public hearing to obtain additional information from the police department on a more factual basis than what we have gotten so far. And that's my suggestion. Now, if you'd like to give us your thoughts on this.
I just like to be on the record before the formal
Sure.
motion, so I apologize
No,
for that,
please do.
no, me too. But I just think if the board is inclined to continue it, there's obviously, first, no objection by pride, but second, I think that there could be some potentially additional information that could be relevant, specifically speaking about this Chestnut and Shaker Road. And the minutes are March 11th, 2014, where it was addressed as to whether or not 24 hours would be appropriate. And Marilyn Fish at 259 Chestnut Street, as well as a Gail Moran at 226 Shaker Road opposed. I mean, this Chestnut and Shaker immediately opens up to our residents. If you look at their residential zone, I apologize, it's not, but this is a house right across the street from where the gas station is. So any position that the industrial zone is significantly different than the business zone, I'd respectfully disagree with that. And then if you look at the East Long Meadow's scheduled use of regulations, I mean, the business and the industrial are almost parallel to each other. But for the industrial regulations specify there's a couple uses that you can have in industrial that you can't have in business. Specifically, I think it's
Retail.
3.08 industrial use includes industrial uses, wholesale trade and warehouse, construction supply establishment. So the parallel, or that position, I think is just, would be relevant to review not only the special decision with respect to the, at that point, L.E. Belcher Incorporated dated June 14th, 2015, but also the minutes dated March 11th, 2014, where neighbors directly across the street from there objected and opposed. And I think, we'll obviously address everything in the future. I just want, while the public's here and those with concern, obviously we'll be more than willing to meet with anyone and address it, and just remind that the board has position to impose conditions. I mean, I personally, there's a question between potential impact, obviously potentially adversely impact, and actual, and whether there's speculation or anything. There's clearly some concerns by the neighbors with respect to stuff. I've personally never heard of those, and so we'll certainly address them. And I think I'd be remiss, lastly, not to mention, I think Ralph Page, I don't personally ever met him, but he actually was quoted on Western Mass News indicating that having a gas station, meaning that Shaker and Belcher will cut down on the amount of traffic coming to get cheaper gas further down the center of town, how it's a good thing. So again, it just goes back to the competitive balance as to the need for Pride to have the level playing field. And that was an article dated September 27th, 2016. So that's again what the motivation began, but we're more than willing to acquiesce to a continuance, to continue to speak and address any concerns, whether it be producing decibel level noise as to exactly what speculation is, to actually what noise there could or would be, as well as lighting, shielding, and the same. Potentially come up with conditions, but obviously, I think at this point, most importantly, speaking with the neighbors, as well as speaking with the police chief. So I appreciate it.
Continue it gives us the opportunity to get better input from the police chief and perhaps from other residents. Also gives you the opportunity, you've now heard specifically from some of the residents what their concerns are. Gives you an opportunity to try to address that, and at that point we can go forward. Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Could, just
Sure.
listening to everybody in the room, so I have 3 more requests.
Okay, please.
If we can.
So I'd just like to know what the distance is between the abutting residential properties. Okay.
The
So,
distance?
well, from specifically the one in the center of town. So if you look at that property, to the rear of it is Romito's. Next to Romito's, you have Bentley Billiards. But to going down Elm, you do have some residential properties.
Right, it abuts.
Butters.
Yeah, so I'd like to know,
Their property right there. You mean
So-
the structures?
yeah,
Okay.
between the actual Pride Convenience building
And the houses?
and the houses. Don't count Romito's, because Romito's, is my understanding, closes at 8 o'clock or so.
That's
Well,
correct.
Bermudo's is now owned by
I know,
Bulldog.
but it's not a gas station, it's a,
Correct.
Not yet.
whatever.
They don't object
Not
to the
yet.
change of hours.
So,
If they don't object.
Anyway,
That's the
beside-
whole,
All right,
that's
sorry, no.
something
I
different.
understand your concern.
Yes.
But
So-
I'm trying to listen to.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Richards, I believe, said that there were other special permits that have been granted by the planning board that have hours restrictions on
Yes,
them.
as a matter of
That's
fact, the 13 North Main Street does.
Okay. So could you give us a list of other retail that have hour restrictions and what they might be?
Yes.
Yeah, typically restaurants are the ones that
Yeah.
are under special
And
permit.
so my next question was, what's Bentley's?
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock?
12?
Okay. Okay.
Where were the other, you said you
But
had
I
3
can
more.
get you.
I did 3.
I can
Okay.
get
Oh, that was all
you.
3, okay.
I kept them all.
Got the third one
I kept
this
them all.
time.
I
Make sure we got them
Got
all.
the third one.
Well, this is important. We need to, if the board wants additional information, the time to request it is now.
Yeah.
So that we can get it in time for the continuation of the hearing. We can't close the hearing, because if we do that, we can't take additional
Yeah.
information in.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I do understand that the Pride across the street from Fugata's, if I said that correctly, I mean, there is heavily residential, so I don't need that distances. I'm more concerned on the center of town, so.
Okay, and if there are other information you need, okay, we can still request that and have it presented. Or if someone comes to us with information we didn't ask for, we can still accept that when we continue the hearing, okay? So having said that, and having
So
gotten...
you're not going to close the public hearing
No.
either, the
No,
public's
no, we are
portion.
not. We are gonna continue, we never close down the public. We take it back to the board, and we
Right.
can always open it up to the public to give more comments.
All right, so I have a feeling that these same questions, correct me if you don't agree with me, are going to, you do, yeah, are gonna come up for 13 as well.
Yeah, right.
So you might as well seek,
Do both.
ask
Well,
the,
let's deal with this one first, and then
All
we'll
right.
open 13, okay? And we'll see what we do with it, okay?
oh, all right.
Let's deal, these are 2 separate requests for 2
we
separate
agree.
parcels, do them one at a time, and
And the 18th is our next meeting, so just so that you, because
Cancel it.
the next is,
That's fine.
the next is the 4th of July, so.
No, that's
We're
good.
not having a meeting?
That's a good date. 18th is
Freeze
fine.
No.
that would be illegal.
I know where this is now, finally.
But, Mr. Chair, I do
Yeah.
want to add something else. I understand your concerns about wanting more information from our police chief. However, I want to go on record saying, I am comfortable enough not to have a letter written because he is a man of very few words. And I think his words will just be elongated to repeat the same thing.
Okay, but we have requests from 2 members
Correct.
for that and for additional information. And this, we have gotten some significant comments from the public. I think we both need to digest those, and if you want to come in with more information to answer some of those concerns, that's your right, you know that. I don't want to rush this one and just say we're going to close it and vote it because people feel like they need more information. And we want to do this right.
We agree. There's no
Okay.
problem.
So do I have a motion to continue the public hearing to July 18th at 7 o'clock?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the hearing is continued to July 18th at 7 PM here, okay, unless otherwise posted. And with that, we will open public hearing for amended special permit for Pride Convenience at 13 North Main Street. Can you read this into the record? Is that the same memo?
Basically.
Okay.
Both of them.
I would imagine so. The planning board of the town of East Long Meadow will hold a public hearing on June 20th, 2017 at 8 o'clock in the school committee conference room at the high school at 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, on application for an amendment to the special permit submitted by Pride Convenience, Inc. to change hours of operation located at 13 North Main Street. Information relating to this application is on file with the planning board and available for review by the public.
Okay, and we will incorporate also the letter that was read for the other property and the police report that was read for the other property into the record for this hearing.
I don't have to reread it, correct?
No, you don't have to waive the reading.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, though, since we do have people here who are specifically interested in this property, I would like to open it up to the public. We've heard the board's concerns. I think the same concerns on more information apply here. We've heard your comments. I know that there are people out there who are abutters to 13. If anyone would like to add any additional comments at this point. Sir.
I'd like to offer
Again,
this up.
your name and...
Ralph Butler, 4 Elmcrest Street. I just want you to understand that when Mr. Bulldog, if he gets 24 hours at 13 North Main Street, the bulldozers are coming in very shortly after he gets that permit to level that whole corner, Romito's and all, and the biggest gas station East Long Meadow's ever seen is gonna go up there. Keep that in mind. That's all.
Thank you for your speculation. Anyone else wish to comment at this point?
Yes.
Please.
Marilyn Richards, 342 Pinehurst. I have another letter, it's the same letter. I would like to submit it in the record for,
Please.
For this application. I will waive the reading of the letter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address this? Mr. Page.
Actually, I have a question first. If I remember right, a few minutes ago, you said that 13 already has hours of operation. I was just wondering what those were currently.
Robin?
It's 5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
5 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is...
7 days a week.
17 hours roughly.
It's over 15. Yeah.
Okay.
So it falls within the criteria, 15 to 24.
It does.
So there has been, I mean, from what I could see previously on the board, under special permit, we had almost always included hours of operation. Occasionally, hours weren't included. It was an oversight. I know I went back through the minutes of 5 years, and there was 2 or 3 different times that we forgot to add them. And I'd just like to put it out there that that may have been one for the other one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Sir?
John Fitzgerald, 14 North Street. If they do tear that down and build a new one, does that permit move over?
That would require a new site plan certainly, and probably another special permit.
Amendment.
Either amendment or a new one.
It has to be a new one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other comments, sir?
Andrew Wilson, 24 Elm Street, I'm your next door neighbor. I don't know, I go by track records. And I stand on my second floor and take a look out after we shovel our sidewalks, and it has been shoveled or taken care of on the other end, and kids are jumping over. Our kids are walking, that's a route for children going to Birchland High School. And they can't walk down the sidewalk, they're walking in the road. And we're busy trying to take care of it, and working against the Department of Public Works, of course, because they come blasting by and build your sidewalk up. And here you go out on your cane and try to clear, you don't get in trouble. But I have issues with track records. I have had to go in and talk to the manager. I asked for a manager at Remedios about my cow pasture between me and their property, and I told them, could they take care of that? I mean, it looks a little ridiculous if I got property that I take care of. Why can't they take care of their own property? And of course, finally, they came through and half done the hill and then cut the other down. And people walking in the streets, especially the young people. I mean, we're under obligation, who live on that street, we've got to have our sidewalks clean, or we get fined for it or whatever. And it's just a danger for the young people. And it's also that great trash unit over there. I mean, at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's your alarm clock. They come in and empty that. And it's just, I like to go by track records. I mean, they've been here a long time, I know that. But also, I think I know for a fact on my brownstone wall, little round thing where you hook your horse to. And I was built only in 1890. And my next door neighbor is even older than that. I think we've been around a little longer than the pride stations have. And I think we need a little respect and a little, the lights. We don't need that. I'm sorry, but thanks for being, around a while. But I think we've been around a little longer, and we also need some respect for this town. Town. Just ridiculous.
Thank you.
Especially, I'm a retired bus driver, a professional truck driver originally. 17 years for East Long Meadow, and I like my kids. And it's ridiculous to see young people having their jets so big.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a comment? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to continue the hearing to what time, Robin? July 18th?
7 o'clock.
No, we'll have one.
Oh, yes, correct.
7:15. They're gonna be here anyway, so.
7:15, okay.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Did you second that?
Yeah. I did, right, Mr. Denver?
Yes, you did. Okay,
We're kind of taking turns tonight.
Thank you all for coming. We have a few more items to deal with here. We have a,
Ty, get your speed reading on.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we have Ray Center Square repair. People, could you take, if you're going to continue to discuss this, could you take it outside? Because we do have some more items we have to deal with. Okay, thank you. We have Ray Center Square.
No, this is not right.
Yes.
Oh, Pride Plaza. Oh, my goodness gracious. Excuse me, my mistake. I saw the word Pride and I thought we were back at the gas station. Sorry, guys.
You are.
Yeah, we are. Okay, request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Pride Plaza Inc., 246 Cottage Street. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Ray Center Square Repair LLC. Owner of business is Raymond Pacheco Jr. Business owner's address is 136 Rocky Dundee Road, Stafford Springs, Connecticut. Property address is 14 Center Square. Property district is business. Allowed use is yes. Close hours of operation are 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 8 to 12 Saturdays. Number of employees, including owner, is 1. Date of last parking plan is November 29th, 2002. Summary of business is general automotive repair and maintenance, oil changes, filter, belts, tires, tune-ups, diagnostic, and suspension repairs. The address, the application's been signed and dated May 11th, 2017.
That's where Perone's was?
This is another business going where Perone's was, essentially the same business. Any questions or comments?
I make a motion to approve?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You have a sign request.
Yes.
Town of East Long Meadow sign permit application dated June 14th, 2017. Proposed name of business name and address is Ray Center Square Repair LLC, 14 Center Square. Business owner's name and address is Raymond J. Pacheco. How do you say his last name?
Pachero, excuse me, Junior, 136 Rocky Dundee Road, Stafford Springs, Connecticut. Property owner's name and address is Robert Baldock, 246 Cottage Street, Springfield, Mass. Contact person and telephone number is Ray Pachero. Phone number is listed here. Square footage of proposed sign is 20 square feet. Freestanding, no. Attached to the building, yes. Setback from property line is 70 feet. Distance to nearest side yard is 15 feet. Distance to top of sign above vertical wall is 4 feet. It's a permanent sign. It is non-illuminated. Number of existing signs is 0. Total square footage existing signs is 0. The number of proposed signs is 1. Total square footage of proposed sign is 20 square feet. The application has been signed, and the estimated cost of the sign is $200, and a sign affidavit is attached, and that's what it looks like.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have, let's do the temporary signage first for Kelly Fredette.
I'll recluse myself from that.
We're going out of order on it.
I know. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I thought you got a power claim.
No, that's all right, I just needed to find it. There's 2 of them, right? Are there 2 of them? Or just one?
There were 2 pictures emailed. It's a double-sided sign. They're the same picture on both sides.
Perfect.
Sign permit application dated June 14th, 2017. Business name and address is Kelly Fredette Lumber, 587 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. Business owner's name and address is David Weeks, 1258 Williams Street, Long Meadow. Property owner's name and address is the same. Contact person and telephone number is Deb Bushnell. Phone number is listed here. Square footage proposed sign is 10 per side, A-frame, total of 20 square feet. Freestanding, yes. Height above ground not applicable. Attached to the building, no. No projections from the building. Setback from property line is 15 feet. Distance to nearest side yard is 20 feet. The sign is temporary. It is non-illuminated. Total number of existing signs is not applicable. Total number of proposed sign is 1. Square footage proposed sign is 20 square feet. Total square footage proposed and existing signs is 20. The application's been signed, and the estimated cost is $200. And this is what that will look like.
They're advertising for help. Okay. And how long are they asking for that to be there? Or are they?
It doesn't say on here.
Okay, so we get to say how long we want it for.
$45 days.
Sounds good.
45 days. We have a motion to approve the temporary sign for 45 days.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You gotta put that on your request.
No, I wanted to ask for 90 days. We did that last time.
So speak up.
Okay, next one is,
Sign permit application dated June 12th, 2017. Power Clean Fitness, 45 Baldwin Street. Business owner's name and address is Mike Zolwinski, 45 Baldwin Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. Property owner's name and address is McMahon Family, 10 Cap Scott Road, Harwich, Mass. Contact person is Mike Zolwinski. Phone number is listed here. Square footage proposed sign is 100 square feet. Freestanding, no. Attached to the building, yes. Setback from property line is 20 feet. Distance to nearest side yard is 30 feet. It's a permanent sign. It is not illuminated. Number of existing signs is 0. Number of proposed sign is 1. Total square footage of proposed sign is 100 square feet. Total square footage of proposed and existing signs is 100 square feet. The application has been signed, and the estimated cost is $775, and a signed affidavit is attached.
okay,
So just so I can put this in perspective, did he just take down his old sign on the old building and move
Looks
it?
that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it meets the criteria, right? of the
Yes.
size.
It's
Just in.
It's,
Yeah.
I did the math on it, I came up with 99.99.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay.
there.
It just makes it.
As long as it makes
Yep.
it. Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion- So moved?
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we have an A and R.
It's right there.
Nope, that's 13 North Main, it must be this one here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So,
How many people heard?
And as you can see, I'm not sure whether, let me explain this to Louis, in an A and R, what we're doing is changing lot lines,
Yep.
all right?
123 and 125.
And I think the dotted line shows where the actual lot line existing is.
Okay,
They're moving that and they're creating one parcel, so that's parcel new 6 and new 5,
okay.
okay?
All right. So 6 and 5 become one lot?
No.
No, two separate parcels.
Two separate parcels.
Wow.
Here,
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the only thing they're moving, just
all I
removing.
can see.
Okay. So this
That
is
was
here,
there
was there
before.
before, I remember
Yeah.
that, yeah. Yeah, so they're just taking that out so that this is
That
one.
new 5 was from before,
Yeah,
when they
Okay.
changed that.
So this becomes all one lot?
Wait a
yeah.
second.
This here, okay, 6, yeah.
But I do have, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, really.
I do have one concern, where, this is Zone A,
Yes.
and the minimum square footage is 25.
Mhm.
So I do have a concern about Lot 5.
Well, lot 5 is existing, it's not being,
It's not being affected.
Oh, yes, okay, so it's pre-existing.
yeah,
And 6 with the 28 is fully.
Becoming bigger.
becoming bigger.
Mhm.
Okay, that's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, that's cut and dry.
So this being a approval not required, meaning that it has the frontage required, what we need to do is to have a motion to endorse it as opposed to approving it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to endorse.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So how many of us have to sign this one, Rob?
Just you.
Just me? Fine. So, is there any other business?
Yes, there's one other piece of business that I wasn't aware of, that was brought to my attention.
Can I put these under my nose?
Unfortunately, Fogata,
Yes.
in December of 2004, the operation was still Club Meadows. The planning board at that time gave a special permit to install a 12-foot and 24-foot outside deck. At the time, that's when the smoking laws changed and you couldn't smoke inside of a restaurant. So they came before the board and wanted to have basically a platform for their patrons to be able to go out and smoke. They were not to add any more seats. It was 12 by 24. Well, this is what they built. Without permits and added seats.
And
So
it's
if you can
I
pass
took
that
a
around.
I took a visit to the site, it's significantly larger than the square footage listed on
Oh,
the
yeah,
original
it's
permit.
double decker too.
Correct.
And according to the building commissioner, he believes that they have blocked off the emergency exit, so.
And I also have some other code concerns, which I'll
Yes.
address with him.
There
on
were no
that.
permits granted
Mhm.
either, he didn't apply for any permits, so
Amen.
I would like to schedule a revocation of special permit hearing.
So procedurally, I have a question. So wouldn't a building inspector just do a cease and desist first?
He's going to be doing that along with, the planning board has a right to revoke their special permit. Because he's in violation of the special permit first.
Because the special permit only approved a certain size, yes.
I get that.
And he is, yes.
I get that. So the building inspector goes out and does a cease and desist. Does the individual then have a certain time to comply?
I think the building inspector gives him 30 days.
So why would we then schedule a revocation hearing before the individual has an opportunity to correct?
Well, actually, the revocation hearing would come first. And then the planning board
No, what you're saying
requests-
is he's got 30 days to cure his default.
Take it down.
Once he
Right.
doesn't cure his default, then they have a hearing.
Yeah.
Right, he's saying if he fixes it in 30 days, he wouldn't have to come here.
Right.
That's
Pretty
true.
much.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
true. So the board would have to direct the,
Yeah.
ask the building commissioner to do that. All right, okay, we can
Well,
go that
that's,
route.
that's just my suggestion.
We can
I don't
go
know.
Yeah, so that's the case,
Because
let's
I
give him
know
30
he's
days
gone
to
out
cure his
there.
default, it doesn't cure his default.
No, I agree with
comes
your
in here,
suggestion
and
on
then
the-
I agree.
I
They
agree.
tear the whole thing down.
Thanks for being there.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Okay,
end
yeah, no,
result.
and he has been out there because he's the one that took the pictures, so.
Oh, here you go, Rob.
We'll go that way.
Yeah, that way, I mean, it's just it's an advertising hearing, if, you know, going to be expensive.
Well, it wouldn't be a hearing yet, you'd have to bring him in and give him a chance.
Well, yeah, but, any other business before the board?
Oh, please, no.
Hearing none, we'll welcome our two new members.
Yeah,
And-
to the longest meeting that we've had in a year.
Well, it's a good introduction.
Good introduction.
To have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Let Ty do that.
I'll second that one.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.